Good evening, good evening. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Welcome back to another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. We are here as we are each and every Tuesday night, joined by co-hosts Calvin Thomas and Justin Harris. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all feeling tonight?
What's happening?
Yeah, the
NFL
newly
season on the way.
the newly Mr. Married Justin Harris. You see the ring? Look, you see what the hand motion. You see what he doing? You see what he doing? He not slick. Congratulations, my brother. Formerly first time on the podcast as a married man. First of all, give us a few moments of a little feeling of the weekend, how everything went, and just a little recap.
Um, my best man was telling me to stay in the moment as long as possible. Because once it's over. And he was right. Once it was done, it's done.
Back to reality.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing.
That's great, man. It was an auspicious, wonderful occasion. Was very happy to be there. Calvin, you were in attendance. How did you enjoy yourself?
I had a lovely time. I definitely would have said the same thing. Like the one thing that's hard about that is like you try to like you're appreciative of everyone that shows up. You try to spend so much time with them that you don't get to spend time with your wife or wife to spend time with your husband, and then like you look up in the flash and like it's gone. It's like 4 hours just passed like that. So that's always been my advice. Like, look, if y'all gotta duck off somewhere, just spend time to yourself because you're gonna try to thank everybody, you're gonna try to eat, you're gonna try to dance, the next thing you know it's over. Time just flies. It's crazy.
Well, it was a great time.
Occasion. Wonderful.
So positive. Wonderful. But thank you for the kind words. But yeah, it was a great time. But let's get back to what we are here for tonight, and that is to talk about the latest in sports entertainment. And this is it, man. 1 week to go. This weekend we will be having our annual fantasy football draft on Sunday. Calvin, tell the people a little bit about you took over as commissioner last year, and I can't remember who won. Who won last year? Who won last year's draft?
Well, I mean, as my first year commissioner, I did come in second place, made our way to the title game with my newly added responsibilities. I don't remember who won.
Okay, see, for to give people a little background, I was commissioner of this league for many, many years. And, if you've never been commissioner of a league that drafts live in person, sitting around the table, it's a lot of little intricacies that goes into place. Now, I was doing this before you could bring your laptop and your phone and all this. We had to bring paper. We had to write all this stuff down and really take it. Now, Calvin got it easy. He brings his laptop. He types stuff in, whatever. I do it the old-fashioned way. But anyway, I decided to give up the duties. So easy. And in year one, here's your champion, folks.
I got it so easy. I sent out instructions, and I still get questions about the instructions that I sent out.
Well, I will say this: with Calvin being the new commissioner, the prize money that went up, so that's always a plus. I will say that.
I take it a backhand compliment.
He's moving the league forward.
Moving the league forward.
Don't try to have connection issues now. Oh Lord.
Well, the champ is here, folks. So I will be defending this title this coming Sunday, the Fantasy Football League Championship. See what I do when I have time to actually put my mind into things. I introduce gold. You know what I mean? When I have time to really focus on what the task is, I bring home championships. And this will be the official trophy of our Fantasy Football League moving forward. It will be only fitting for me to kick it off as the first year's champion. And don't worry, folks. It's coming back home next year. Don't worry. Any final words, Calvin?
I got a ton of final words, but I put my notes to the group, at least for the time being. Since I'm the commissioner, I gotta spread the word evenly. I can't show favoritism even to myself.
Well, Justin, maybe one day you could win one of these things. I know you haven't tasted the promised land ever since my time knowing you, which has been over 20 years. So
I do have a title under my belt, a couple of them, so I can say that.
Well, update your resume. Because I got one now. Oh, man. Enough of that. let's move on. Let's get into the business at hand and what we're talking about this week. And of course, that is the NFL season kicking off next Thursday night. So tonight's agenda is to go through the entire league, division by division, give our predictions on who will win each division. We're going to go beat by beat. I know we've done our countdown of every team, which has been great. We're taking our time starting from about 3 months ago. We started this thing, and I think it's really worked out well. But now just a little recap. If you don't remember what we said, we're going to go over it. So starting with, first of all, because let's go over a few of the topics that came out this week that really, I think, will play a huge part in some of these divisions and how they turn out. And that CeeDee Lamb got his money. You know, we've been talking about CeeDee Lamb holding out possibly, the issue with whether they would pay him and how that would impact Dak Prescott. We do have a resident Cowboy fan on the panel, so I'm going to let you take this away, Calvin. What was your initial thoughts when you heard about CeeDee breaking the bank?
I don't understand what took so long. You know, this has been a topic of discussion with the Dallas Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb since the offseason began 5 months ago. I'm sorry, 5 months ago in March. What took so long? The price was cheaper 5 months ago prior to Justin Jefferson getting his money. I don't understand what took so long. Prior to Justin Jefferson, the most overall money was Amon-Ra St. Brown, who also signed this year. Now, you can make the argument that CeeDee deserves more than him, but you could have incrementally signed to $2, maybe $5-10 million more in total money, not guaranteed money, instead of giving him, $16 million more, $100 million guaranteed, which is $23 million more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're going to pay him regardless. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between doing it in March versus now? You ended up paying more than you would have had to do right now versus paying in March. So why wait? No one can explain to me why they waited. Not Jerry Jones, who thinks he's the best damn GM in the league. Not any NFL prognosticator. No one can explain why they wait. You waited. You cost yourself money because you had to pay him damn near the equivalent of Justin Jefferson, and that cost you money. And now all of a sudden you can't pay more to Dak. You can't pay more to Micah Parsons, and you need a quarterback and you need a pass rusher. And also, this basically held you up from free agency. You weren't able to sign a free agent because you had this looming contract situation over your head. If you would have got this done 5 months ago, you would have come in at a cheaper price. You would have been able to be you would have been more aggressive in free agency. This is just a matter of the Cowboys being late to the party once again, which we've seen over the last 15-20 years. So
Justin, what was your thoughts when you heard that CeeDee got 4 years for $136?
It was just his time. And like Calvin said, the most important thing was what took so long. And we get it. You know, Jerry is in the advanced stages of life. And sometimes it's just harder to process information as well as you would think that you would. And as a result, this is what happens. Like I said, I tend to give Jerry a little bit more credit than what other people are giving, although I just joked him a little bit. It seems as like he purposely waited. What that purpose is, we don't 100% know right now, but he purposely waited to give him his money. Whether it's an ego thing, whether it's another manipulative play behind the scenes that we don't know about. And like I said on last week's show, I think he's doing all this on purpose. I think he's just trying to stall out things as much as possible. I think that he really wants to derail the season. And I think that he's just trying to look forward towards next season. I think he's really ready to punt on it. But he paid the man, and it was deservingly so. He gets all his bread. He is that good. We just don't know why it took so long.
Do you think it has something to do with just being hardball negotiations, thinking that you can get them the buck, thinking you can get them to take less money because of the Cowboys is the prestige of the franchise and the money you can make wearing that star on your helmet? Did he think that CeeDee would take less money?
Is that what you think?
I honestly, that's the only thing that I could think of, because what is the other reason? It's not like you spent money on anybody else. It's not like you use money to pay Dak Prescott. You didn't go out and get anybody big like Calvin said earlier. Only other reason I could think was you was trying to convince him to take less money so that you could pay other people as well, and CeeDee wouldn't bend.
Well, if he didn't bend, like you said, so he stayed on whatever he was, then you waste out on trying to negotiate with other people. So, like I said, I don't think
it's a fail.
I don't think he's that naive, to be honest with you guys. I just don't.
I think it was something. It's something similar to that effect. I think that he thought he would be able to sign Dak easier than what actually happened. He threatened CD with the franchise tag, and it was always when we signed Dak, we're just going to franchise you. We're going to franchise you, and that was looming over his head. And then when the Dak contract switch is kind of prolonged, and he realized you want to sign one of us next, you can only franchise one of us next year. He kind of played the odds at that point. I think that's what it was. Jerry didn't anticipate Dak being this difficult to sign. Maybe that's because of the influx of contracts. Maybe he wants a Deshaun Watson guarantee contract, but he didn't anticipate that and figured that extension would be easier than CD could be franchised. I think that's what it was. It won't come out because of the frustration with Dak and his contract, but I think he was threatening CD with the franchise tag for so long, just saying, we're going to get Dak done and you're going to be franchised next year. And that's what's going to happen. And I think that's where the situation just kept prolonging itself until it got to this point.
Yeah, makes sense. So it's always a ripple effect when things like this happen. We know that Justin Jefferson had that big contract, and that was like the benchmark. Now, CD didn't get normally once the benchmark is set, the next guy will get more. Well, that didn't happen in this case. So for him, now you got Ja'Marr Chase, you got Brandon Ayuk out there in San Francisco who wants a big contract. What is the ripple effect of CD not eclipsing that Justin Jefferson contract? And if he can't do it, is Chase the guy to do it? Does this impact his negotiations? Because we know he's holding out a little bit. Ayuk wants to trade if he doesn't get his money, or if he does get traded someone, he's going to want to get paid from that team. So this can have some implications, but do the Cowboys signing him to less have different implications than we initially thought? Justin, I'll start with you. Do you think that him taking a little bit less than what Justin Jefferson got will ultimately hurt the other guys' negotiation tactic?
Can you put back up that the wide receiver?
Sure. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. So it seems like 30 to 35 million guaranteed. That's the icing. That's what I need in my contract. So if Ja'Marr Chase is looking at that and he says, I'm just as important to my team as any one of these guys. When I was on and when Joe Burrow was healthy, we went right to the Super Bowl based on the strength of me, then he's going to want that same deal. So if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, just get ready to cough it up. Like there's no slight negotiations here. He's going to want probably more than 30 to 32. He's going to want 34 to 36. That is his window, and he deserves every penny of it himself. Now, the thing that I have issues with, it's not even an issue. The thing that I want to bring up is Brandon Ayuk. He's looking at these numbers as well. Yeah. And he's looking at and saying, hey, I'm in his mind, not me, not us. In his mind, he thinks based off his skill set, based off what he can do for the team, he feels as if he's on the same page as every last one of these receivers. And that's when San Francisco has the problem, because he's probably going to the negotiation table saying, you don't give me the ball enough. So I can have the same numbers as all these guys. But trust and believe my skill set is the same as all these guys. That's what he truly believes. You don't air the ball out enough for me to get the ball. Why? Because you're going to run the ball most of the dang on time. None of these other teams are running it like that. They give plenty of opportunity to the receiver. So with that being said, that's his argument. He's going to put down everyone else around him just so he can put himself up. Because that's the only thing that he can have to the negotiation table. He doesn't have anything. If you go by stats, his stats aren't these guys. He's going to want 30 million too. Now San Francisco is willing to give that to him. That's the whole problem. And I don't think they gave Debo about 28. I don't know if they're going to give him 30. But he's going to want it because he feels as if he's on the same par with everybody else. Cat, what you think?
So I don't think there was ever a chance of CD eclipsing Justin Jefferson, in my opinion. I think the clear-cut best wide receiver in the league is Justin Jefferson, in most people's opinion, just based off what his production and with his but he's had a lack of support around him for the majority of his career. With Ja'Marr Chase, I don't think this affects him because Cincinnati is notoriously cheap. And for people forget, Ja'Marr Chase has 2 years left. He's entering his 4th year. So his 5th year option is next year. So they don't even have to give him a contract or even offer him a contract. And I don't know if that's going to happen. We've seen Cincinnati negotiate with Burrow, with Carson Palmer in years past, with Chad Ochocinco, and they've been notoriously cheap as to where Carson Palmer wanted to get out of there because he just wanted a fresh start based off that entire organization and how Mike Brown and the Brown family deals or does business.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Jamar Chase gets a contract this year. So I don't know how that affects him playing wise.
But doesn't he want a contract?
He wants a contract, correct? But like I said, he's still 2 years away from being a free agent potentially. This is just his fourth year. This isn't even his fifth year option, which is gives you that a lot of that guaranteed money, that $20-25 million based off your draft slot. So he still has 2 years. I don't see Cincinnati doing anything in that position, especially when next year they can still franchise T. Higgins again. So I don't know if that changes anything for him. With Brandon Ayuk, like Justin said, he wants that money based off what his production is, based off the offense that is run. But San Francisco has to pay him. They got to pay Trent Williams. Brock Purdy's coming up as well. So they have a lot of contracts to pay out. So can you give Brandon Ayuk this deal and still be able to pay Brock Purdy what he's going to command, Trent Williams what he can command? Because he's also sitting out as well, and he's your left tackle that protects your quarterback's blind side. So Brandon Ayuk's situation is interesting because they've always tried to get a receiver back in return in addition to an asset of a first-round draft pick. So they know they still need that production somewhere else. I don't know if this actually helps him. I mean, we know at this point he wants to be in San Francisco because he's turned down deals from Pittsburgh, turned down deals from New England that would have paid him about $30-35 million. So he wants to win, but he also wants his money. And I think the situation with winning is best in San Francisco. Money-wise, it may not be. So does he take less? And does it have ripple effect on the market as well that says, hey, if you want to win, you got to take less. Look at what Brandon Ayuk did. So I don't know if this really has a ripple effect with those two receivers, at least this year. After the season, maybe. But this year, I can see both of them not being signed to a long-term deal and still going through the season. Now, whether or not they play or not, specifically in Jamar Chase's terms, I don't know. I mean, there's a Baltimore Ravens fan. I hope he doesn't play, but I can see this being a distraction for them all year long.
I just think it's odd to me because typically when we look at these type of things, the next guy up gets the next highest contract. You don't go lower. It's very seldom if the guys seem like they on the same type of tier that you go lower. You set the market with it, and that's just a CPA thing. You CBA, you don't want to take less money. You don't want to tell your clients, oh, we'll go down. You want to always be going up to reset the market. So that's why I'm a little shocked that he didn't get more than Justin Jefferson, because you want this escalate to continue going up. And then you think about it. A.J. Brown signed a 3-year deal, and now he's been there. This is year 3. So he's going to be needing a new contract. He was there.
A deal, an extension.
It was an extension from 3 years ago. Remember, he got traded there. He had 1 year left, right?
So he got one more year then, right?
He got 1 year left. You
Okay.
don't wait till you get down to the last minute to start negotiating. He gonna want an extension. Same with Tyreek. Tyreek got 4 years. He's been there too. I'm sure next year he gonna want his money. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these is only gonna keep going higher and higher, in my opinion, if they smart. Because Justin Jefferson is getting great money, but look, I think there's a clear number one, but I think Tyreek can make an argument that he deserves top money as well. I don't think that's a stretch. And A.J. Brown, before they started falling off, he was right an MVP candidate early last year. So,
well, Tyreek Hill just re-signed this year, though, right?
Was that this year he signed for $30 million?
That 3 years, $90 million with 65 guaranteed. I don't know if that was. I think that was an extension
On this contract that was 4 years, 120.
Yeah.
Or he added to it. Is that
he added to it?
Because he was a free agent when he went there.
Yeah, correct. And he signed the extension this year because they gave him more guaranteed money, so they could, and then they added years on.
So he restructured.
No, they gave him an extension. Technically, it was an extension because they
he did an extension this year.
Yeah.
So what was his initial deal when he came?
That's the initial. Then he signed an extension for 3 years, 90 was for 65 guaranteed.
And what was the 65 guarantee? So this is off then.
That what you're showing is his last deal. He signed an extension, and that bumped up his guaranteed money
in this
deal.
Season.
Correct. This offseason, a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so this is not updated, so we'll have to look into that graphic.
Yeah, so his total guaranteed money is 105 for that same deal. So it's between CD and Justin Jefferson for this entire deal.
1 and 2.
Correct. Between 1 and 2.
Tyreek restructured that he took less money for the team, or
I'm assuming he added money to smooth out the salary cap bump. because that number was probably getting up there for the salary cap with the guaranteed money. So they added 3 years on, gave him $65 million guaranteed.
And as far as Brandon Ayuk is concerned, he don't deserve nothing compared to none of these receivers on this list. I'm sorry. If we go back and look, 2-3 years ago, Brandon Ayuk was the weak link on that team. If you go back and recall, if anything, Debo got hurt and they took a dip. And it's every time it's happened. Every time Debo's gone down, they're like, well, Debo wasn't there, or Trent Williams gone. Well, Trent Williams wasn't there. And nobody worried about no Brandon Ayuk. I'm sorry, man. This is foolishness that he think he on the par with it. It's good to have confidence. But as far as paying somebody, if I'm the Ravens, I'm not throwing no big money at no Brandon Ayuk. When any of these receivers on this list, go get them. Yeah. Go get them. But Brandon Ayuk, serviceable at best. I'm sorry.
Serviceable at best?
Serviceable at best. Yeah, number 2. Yeah, number 2. Is he a number 1 receiver?
Yes, he's number 1 receiver on the team.
You think he's more valuable to the San Francisco 49ers than Debo Samuels? That's what you think?
Debo Samuels is the number 2.
You don't even think about Christian McCaffrey either, so.
It's a combination of things definitely with that. But I'm sorry. We'll make a list. Maybe that could be another topic another day. But if I'm starting to list receivers, he's maybe 11, maybe 12.
Correct. I'm from the show me state. He definitely has to show it, but he feels that that's what he feels. I'm not getting the opportunities like these other guys are getting. If you throw me the ball 15 times, I'll come down with it 10 to 12 times a game. That's just how you feel.
He's had some good games the last few years with Brock Purdy. I'll give him credit with that. But I've seen enough of him before that, like I said, he was a disappointment. But I won't belabor the point. But yeah. Anyway, very interested looking at some of these contracts. Let's move on to Pittsburgh because the decision had to be made, and Mike Tomlin decided he's rocking with Russell Wilson, which I think many people assumed would happen. But it's very interesting because the clock is ticking because Justin Fields apparently had a really good camp. He looked solid in the preseason, so a lot of people thought that he really did enough to win that job and really take over. But I think Tomlin, when they went and got Russell, I think the plan was always to start him from the jump. And I don't know the money situation, but that might have something to do with it too. But I also saw a lot of people this week trying to look at Russell's numbers from last year, showing that he had a pretty good year. And in comparison to other people who have been lauded as being better than him, his numbers were comparable. But I watch tape. I watch games. I watch live action. And there's nothing about Russell Wilson in the last 2 years in Denver that shows me that he's going to bring anything different to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could be wrong, but I need to see it to believe it. Do you think this was a good decision rolling with Russell Wilson over Justin Fields? Calvin, I know you've been a Russell fan. I know you were really picking them heavy when he was out in Denver. What's your thoughts on this whole move here?
I think that was the plan all along, is to bring along Justin Fields slow, and that means to start Russell Wilson however long that means. That's 6 weeks, that 8 weeks, or that's the whole season. I don't think it'll be for the entirety of the season, but I think the plan the entire time for Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers was to bring in Russell Wilson, have him kind of mentor to the Justin Fields, and allow Justin Fields to eventually take over that starting spot. Mainly because if you look at that offensive line, they need an athletic quarterback that can escape the pocket and buy time. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson in the preseason game, I believe he was like 4 of 10 for 50 yards total. That's due to the offensive line. That's due to the receivers not getting open. It's due to a number of facts, and some of them are not really directly to Russell Wilson, but they need more than Russell Wilson right now. They need an athletic quarterback. They need someone that can extend the play, get out the pocket, and make plays with their legs. So I think Russell Wilson will start the year. I don't know how long he will be the starting quarterback. At some point, he will be relegated to the bench. And this may be his last year in the league, just looking at how his trajectory of his career has gone the last couple of years, from his last year in Seattle to the 2 years in Denver to to this year in Pittsburgh. This may be the end of Russell Wilson, but he will start this year. He will get a chance to prove himself one more time. I just don't know how long that will be and how long the rope will be that they will give him to just prove himself one more time.
Justin.
Yeah, so The problem is it shouldn't have been as close. That's the whole thing. Everything Calvin said was pretty much spot on, and the problem is Russell isn't what they even thought Russell would be. He's lower than that for them, and Justin is doing okay, and you will hope that he will get better when it comes to him understanding the offense as it goes along. But he shouldn't be pushing him. Russell should have a firm grips on the offense because he's the veteran here. He's the one that can understand situations, break down defenses a bit easier, so on and so forth. But he's not doing it to the degree that they want him to do. So will that leash be short? I think it's going to be extremely short. And I haven't heard them come out and say it's officially rushed. Have you? That's what you heard officially?
Yeah, they named it early this week.
Yeah. Oh,
no, last week.
So with that being said, Tomlin has pride too, right? Like Tomlin is going through the season understanding he never had a losing record in his career. And if he can retire saying that is one feat that is a hell of a stat to have. So he has his finger on the trigger. He cannot wait until Russell has, I say, 2 bad games back, and he will pull it. And I don't even think he'll hesitate. So with that being said, it's a very, very short lease. Russell should be much better than what he is. He is not. Is this his last time in the NFL? I don't think so. He can always be a backup.
He can always be a backup.
But that's his ego and what he wants to do and whatever his wife tells him to do on top of that. With that being said, that's all I got. Larry?
Yeah. I don't even think he needs the money. So it's like, yeah, look, I'm rooting for Russ. Don't get me wrong, but he's a Steeler, so I'm not rooting that hard. So Justin Fields scares me more, to be honest with you. As far as his athleticism, his upside, and what he could present, I'm not mad at the decision. And I hope I haven't looked at the schedule hard, but I don't know what week the Ravens play the Steelers, but I hope it's early.
It's week 6. The first time it's week 9.
Justin
the
Fields
week
be the
before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he'll be scrambling around making plays by then.
Yeah, Justin Fields will be getting chased around at that point by the Ravens defenders. Because
I'm sorry, week 11. Week 11.
Russ will be long gone. I hate how they do these schedules. We used to play them early and then one a little later. You know what I mean? Like, why are they bunching it up now?
And it's always like the last week of the season now, through the last couple of years.
Man, it's like mix it up. All right, let's get into the AFC North because this is a division that's near and dear to our hearts here in Baltimore. It's the home of the Ravens. Justin, I know did you have some thoughts, so we're going to let you chime in. But me and Calvin going to start this thing off. First of all, talking about the Ravens because, as I said in our preview show a couple weeks ago, when we talked about the Ravens, I think it was last week, I am not high on the offensive line for the Baltimore Ravens. That is the weak unit for the team. There's not much. As I was tonight on Instagram, the Ravens unveiled their 53-man roster, and I was just scrolling through, and I'm looking like, wow, man, this is not the roster that I feel like is worthy of going back to the AFC Championship game. I just don't like the depth. I don't like if one injury happens at a couple different spots, we in serious trouble, and I don't have great confidence. I think that the team did not do enough to shore up some of the weaknesses that they have. And I think some of the players that we're relying on, especially even with Lamar Jackson, we don't have a capable backup. Even with Snoop Huntley, you could count on that at least he could be serviceable. I have no faith in Josh Johnson if something happens to Lamar. If Lamar goes down, the season is over. Whereas I couldn't say that the last couple of years. I think we could hang in there a little bit. I think we didn't, and that's just to me indicative of I think the lack of moves, and that could a lot of this due to money. I'm gonna say that up front, but I think this is the chicken coming home to roost from some of the decisions that were made in previous years, throwing so much money at a Ronnie Stanley, throwing so much money at a Marlon Humphrey, throwing too much money at players that I feel like have not given you the productivity to fulfill those particular responsibilities. And then the injuries. The injuries are still an issue. I just can't give my full all in all to this team. And with carefully studying the rest of the division, I'm not picking the Ravens to win the division this year. I just don't see it. I had to think about it long and hard. I think that the rest of the division has caught up in many ways. I think the Cleveland Browns will be the class of the AFC North this season. I think they're a better, well-rounded team. I love the defense. I love everything I see from both of those pass rushes. I like the quarterback. I like the running game. They represented. Bradley Chubb is able to come back healthy. The receiving core is solid in all facets, tight end and receiver. I just like the team overall, and I think Stefanski is a well-rounded coach, especially with that play-action game, the RPO system they run out there with Deshaun. I love it, and I know it's blasphemy, but just got to keep it real. I'm a Ravens fan, and I think they'll definitely make the playoffs, but they had to fight from underneath. And I think there's something about the Ravens. They play better when they're the underdog. When they come in as the top guy, they start smelling themselves and think bad things happen. So I think as a wild card team having to go on the road in the playoffs, the team maybe will find out some things. We get Keaton Mitchell back. Derrick Henry hopefully will be a good 1-2 punch with him, and we'll see some good productivity. Hope Mark Andrews bounce backs this year, hopefully. But I just like more what I see from the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going with Cleveland to finish number 1. Who you got finishing at the top of the division, Calvin?
So I look at this division and I look at the teams around it, and I think the Ravens have the best overall team. I go back and go back and what you said, and you talk about the offensive line. And I think every team in this division has a major issue which they did not address in the offseason. With Pittsburgh as the quarterback, with Cincinnati as the defense, with Cleveland, I think it's the quarterback. It's also the offensive line, in my opinion. I'm just not sure which team can best supplement their weakness. I'm not going to bet against Lamar in the regular season. I've seen Lamar do amazing things with what I consider junk and trash from a couple years ago. So I'm not going to bet against Lamar in the regular season. Now, have we gotten to the point where we shouldn't have to do that? Yes. Have we gotten to the point where that Lamar has passed? Only time will tell. So I still think we arguably has the best quarterback in the division, a top 5 quarterback in the league, and a top 3 quarterback in the AFC. I think all those things still apply, regardless of what you think of Joe Burrow, who's 1A and 1B as far as in the division with Lamar. I still think the Ravens are the best team. The offensive line does scare me. I think Derrick Henry, does he have enough left in the tank at 30 years old? We've seen running backs fall off that cliff at 30. I think the defense and defensive backs are phenomenal. And I think they're arguably can be the best in the league. And I think in the division which you have with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Amari Cooper, you're going to need, those type of defensive backs. You're going to need Kyle Hamilton as well. And I think they will be able to stifle some passing games as well. And when you have a defensive line that pass-wise, they may not be able to get to you in the pass, but run-wise, I think they will be able to do their job, especially with Roquan and whoever's lining up next to him. I think he makes that person better. We saw it last year with Patrick Quinn. I think we're seeing it this year with Trent Simpson. I have the Ravens win this division. I have Cleveland finishing in second, and I have Cincinnati finishing in third. I think this is Pittsburgh's first losing season under Mike Tomlin. I think Cincinnati, the Jamar Chase situation scares me. If I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, I don't know what's going to happen, and I know the track history from, my ownership in the past and not paying players too soon. So that bothers me. Will this carry over to the season? Will I be down a weapon, at least mentally? If he's not out there mentally and he's not giving his all because he's worried about his contract situation and worried about what's going to happen in the offseason, then that has to bother me as well. I think that I have to take that into account. And with Cleveland, I'm still waiting to see when Deshaun Watson shows up. If you're telling me that you're relying on Jameis Winston as a backup, okay. But Deshaun hasn't been healthy and hasn't played the way we know Deshaun can play. And why should I think that's going to happen consistently? I'll say consistently. Why should I think that's going to happen this year for 17 games? Because I gave him Jerry Jeudy. He has no Nick Chubb. Now, granted, he has Jerome Ford. Maybe they'll bring back Kareem Hunt. We'll see. Maybe they bring in Dalvin Cook. We'll see. No Nick Chubb for the foreseeable future because he's on PUP. Can I rely on Deshaun until Nick Chubb comes back? Can I still rely on Nick Chubb after that devastating knee injury last year? It's so many questions. So I'm going with the Ravens. I don't think the winner of this division wins more than 11 games. I think it's that kind of back and forth between those 3 teams. But I'll go with the Ravens, and then I have Cleveland, and I have both those teams making the playoffs as well.
Justin, how do you see the North?
Well, I look at it like this. I think a lot of things are going to happen. One, I think Pittsburgh will be last. I'll say that. And I still think they'll be 9-8. I'm going to continue to give him his just due. That being said, the winners of the division probably had no more than 11 wins as well. So it's going to be a very, very, very close division for you guys. You guys got the toughest division in the league, in my opinion. With that being said, I still believe that Cleveland will probably edge out Baltimore as we go further into this. I just think, and Larry kind of hints to it a little bit, I don't like the fact that Cal Hamilton has been off and on so far in the preseason. I believe he's the best player on your defense, and I'm including your middle linebacker as well. If he takes an extended leave, I think you guys will have a deficit to make up for, and I think it's going to happen. And that's why I think that y'all going to be number 2 because of that. Call me whatever it is. We have to predict some kind of. No one's going to enter this thing perfect and then leave perfect, right? So you have to kind of predict these things as well. And like you said, I think the Ravens missed out on getting key veterans. I think let's just say you offer $5 to $7 million to a Stephon Gilmore. I think he comes over. Let's
think defensive back is a problem though.
You're gonna need bodies at the end of the day.
I think they got enough bodies defensive back wise. Corner wise.
They drafted a young guy that could help, but
they drafted a young guy who I may have rookie defensive player of the year.
Maybe he will be. But I hear what Justin's saying. Injuries. Go ahead.
So with that being said, so with that process of elimination, Cincinnati will be 3rd in the division. I like what Cleveland did. I believe they had insurances. Yes, let's say Deshaun Watson isn't the same Deshaun Watson. I'm going to pick up a Jameis Winston. I'm going to get a high-quality backup. And that's what I was saying with the Baltimore. Y'all missed out on getting high-quality backups. Y'all could have went and got Jameis some kind of way, right? Like he was up for the grabs. Y'all could have placed a call to Cam Newton and dust off his shoulders for a little bit just to get a couple snaps in. I
think they get Tyler Huntley back.
That's what I wanted. You think they still will?
Yeah, I don't know if he would. I gotta look at their final roster. They'll talk about him possibly being cut or him even being, traded prior to the cut. So I don't even know if he made that.
I saw no reason to let him go. Honestly, I saw.
They got Jameis.
I'm talking about the Ravens.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean that's just what I feel. I think Cleveland is just a little bit more balanced both offense and defense, and we'll see how they play out. But yeah, I think the acquisition for the whole thing is the acquisition of Jerry Jeudy. I think he completely balances that Cleveland attack, whereas though Deshaun can actually look a little bit like his old self again.
So Cleveland kept 4 quarterbacks.
So they still got Huntley then.
They got Deshaun, Tyler Huntley, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who played against the Ravens last year, and Jameis. They got 4.5.
They went and got Deontay Foreman, who's a good running back. I think they did enough. Jordan Hicks at linebacker.
They only got 2 running backs.
But Deontay Foreman and Ford going to hold it down till Chubb come back. I would still go.
They had Pierre Strong and Jerome Ford.
But I heard Kareem Hunt come in for a visit this past week. So
I heard that too.
I mean, he know the system. He know everything about that.
And there's veteran running back that you can pick up. That's just waiting for a call.
I mean,
Dalvin
Cook going to. I heard Dalvin Cook's going to Dallas for a visit, and Kareem Hunt goes.
I don't understand why he ain't already on the Dallas roster. That makes too much sense.
Wasn't he on? He was on
the Ravens,
Chicago, right?
No, he never got picked up this offseason.
I thought he was on Hard Knocks.
I didn't see him.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, very interesting. AFC North. Justin and I are going with Cleveland. Calvin going Baltimore. Y'all know my heart is with the Ravens, so don't take it personally. I'm talking about business. And when I have to objectively look at the roster, I wasn't happy with what the moves that were made. For where we finished in the AFC Championship game, do you think they made any substantial moves that's going to get them back to the AFC Championship game? If you just resting on the laurels of saying Lamar's Lamar, fine. I mean, that's fine. But I don't think they did anything outside of the box or anything to show up my confidence level to show me that they're going to be any better. Go ahead, Calvin.
I think they did what they could do. I think they had hopes for some young players. They had hopes for Voorhees to step up. I don't know if I would have re-signed Zeitler. I mean, let me say this. I don't know if I would have re-signed Simpson, I believe.
I would have
And
re-signed
also
Zeitler.
kept. I would have re-signed. Like I don't know if I would have re-signed Simpson and kept Moses. I think if you're looking at the offensive line, you think they struggled last year. Then why do you bring those guys back? I do think Zeitler. If you have a Zeitler, Stanley, Lindenbaum left side, then you could kind of maneuver the right side with Makari. You can kind of do what you want to on that side, and you drafted the rookie as well. So I think that's the one thing that how are they coming together as an offensive line? Linderbaum's been out for the last 10 days of camp. He's wearing a red shirt now. You're talking about he's going to play in 9 days. I don't know if they're going to be able to have that cohesion. And you're going against Cincinnati. You're going against Kansas City. You're going against Chris Jones on night one. Those guys are hungry. They've already been there twice, and they still want to win another one. So you can't just start off on a slow foot because you have no cohesion on the offensive line to protect your $250 million quarterback or your $20 million running back. So,
and I'm going to hop on the offensive line because that's important to me. But we got to look at that defensive line as well. Now, I love me some Matabike, so I love that they took it. He's out there. But you gonna count on Ojabo? You think he's gonna come up big for you?
I don't think they expected to lose Clowney. And from everything I've read, it was just him wanting to go home, which is you can't pay that.
Okay, so, but you got to go get somebody. I like. Don't get me wrong. I love that you did. The linebackers a little weak. I'm sorry. And now I hate Patrick Queen, so I'm not worried about that.
You worried about Trent Simpson?
I need to see it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I need to see it. I need to see it. Malik Harrison.
No, I've seen it. I've been there, done it.
I've seen enough. So that's what I'm saying. Like, who's the pop? You know what I mean? Like, who?
I mean, we had the same questions last year, and it's just that Clowney had a rejuvenated season. Or
Van Noy came out of nowhere.
Van Noy and Matabike had a breakout season. So it's like
it was sensational.
You're relying on Owe and Ojabo, we've been relying on the last two. Now
Owe is trash. All
I
right,
would have liked more if you sent the 3 to get Judon. And I'm not saying Judon solves your problems. I'm saying Judon knows the system. Judon can give you another body. Judon can be someone. If Ojabo does not pan out, then I'm comfortable with Judon stepping in.
Don't know this system.
Now I don't know who's stepping in for Ojabo.
Yeah, that's my problem. And you really, I need to see it. That's what I'm saying. We'll see. The first 4 weeks will tell us this tale. The first 4 weeks will tell us this tale. New defensive coordinator, new defensive mindset. You don't have to worry about Patrick Queen, but I don't know who I'm worrying about now. You know what I mean?
First 4 weeks, if their record is what, are you not concerned?
3-1.
Okay, I agree. I think they should be 3-1 after 4 weeks.
If they 2-2, I got problems.
If they're,
I'll give them Kansas City.
Yeah,
they can lose the Kansas City game opening night in Kansas City, whatever. But other than that, they should be head and ready.
If they're 2-2,
so if you lose against the Bills, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yes,
that's a major problem.
The Bills have no defense, so you should be able to score. You should be able to put up 30 against the Bills. You should be. You're at home
and they have
Sunday night, I believe. I think it's Sunday night against the Bills. You should put up 30 points.
Easy.
You should put up 30 points. Now, if you want to say they lose to Dallas
against another premier quarterback, you can't lose to Mahomes and Josh Allen in the first 4 weeks of the season.
If you tell me they lose to Dallas and City,
that's another.
I'm not
in Dallas.
In Dallas, I'm not. If they lose to Buffalo, I'm upset. If they lose to Dallas because it's in Dallas, I'm not as concerned.
But realistically, they could be 1-3. Would you be happy with that? Of course you wouldn't be. That's my point.
I mean, look, I think they should be 4-0.
They should be. Well, we'll talk about Kansas City in a minute. They got some question marks too.
Yeah.
So they'll need to figure some stuff out early in the season. And that's why I say we still got some injuries that we're not going to be completely whole. So that's something to take into consideration for week 1. But we'll see. You know that rust that first game is always something.
I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out what this guy has against Orr. I'm not saying look, and we can move on to this. The Ravens have notoriously high within on defense. Zach Orr, who came up, who played under John Harbaugh, who was here when Dean Pease was here, who was here last year with Mike McDonald, who's been in the system for years. If you want to say he's young and inexperienced, that's fine. But he has these guys respect. He's been in the organization for years.
They wanted him.
Pro Bowler for 1 year. I don't see where the concern is there for. He has an experienced defense. He has, like I said, arguably the best defensive backs in the league right now as a whole. When you include Hamilton, Humphrey, Wiggins, Stevens, Williams.
That's all well and good, but let me tell you the main thing. The guy who called the defense is in the middle. And he got him.
Yeah.
And you got Roquan.
Yeah.
All the rest of that stuff, just kill it. Kyle Hamilton in the back, Roquan in the front.
Look, Mike McDonald 2 years ago was the defensive coordinator in Michigan.
You gotta remember,
in Michigan, and
Roquan
because of Roquan, now he's in Seattle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Roquan is the key. So we can talk all this stuff. Ray Lewis got a lot of people jobs too. So let's not act like this didn't happen here.
Ray Lewis got a lot of people paid too.
A lot of people paid and jobs.
Ed Hartwell, Bart Scott,
the list goes on.
The list goes on and on.
The list goes on. And he's that guy. And we're gonna see how Patrick Queen get exposed up in Pittsburgh. But anyway, that's the AFC North. Moving on, let's go to the East because we talked about Buffalo moments ago. Justin, we're gonna let you lead this on. What's your thoughts on the East? Who you got winning it? Anybody else making the playoffs in your opinion from this division?
Like I said in one of my breakdowns, excuse me, I think this is the year that Josh Allen could possibly come back down to earth as a little bit away from being the top three quarterbacks that everyone kind of mentions. It just flows off Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, so on and so forth. I think he takes his hit now. I think this is also the year that the playoffs could possibly, I say more than likely, go through Miami. I think Miami is ready to have the number one overall record in the AFC. I think they're primed and ready for that.
Now.
With that being said, I got the Jets being right behind them. So unfortunately, you can't win it. So they'll be 2 through whatever. But I think they'll be right there next to them. And with Buffalo a little bit behind them, and the Patriots probably one of the worst teams in the league, unfortunately. Again. So why do I say that? I think injuries and cold weather is the only thing that stops Miami. So do I have to continue to predict? I don't believe that Tyree's going to have another injury-prone season again. I believe, let's say a chain. I believe he took care of his body in the offseason, so he doesn't have the injury bug or just nagging injuries along the way. If people like them stay healthy the entire year, and Waddle got his bread, he's good to go. If they can stay healthy, more likely than not, and no one cares about Odell Beckham Jr., then they will definitely have the number one overall record. In my opinion, they're just that good. And then now the playoffs is a lot more dangerous. We'll get into that later. But Miami doesn't have to worry about cold weather. And that will add an extra interesting topic along the way. So, yeah, I definitely got Miami taking this division. But my favorites is the Jets. I'll say that too. I'm a Breece Hall fan through and through. So I'm pulling for the Jets, but I think Miami had the best overall record in the league.
Calvin, your thoughts on the East?
So I got the Jets winning the East. I think this is a bounce back. Yeah, they have a lot of accumulated talent. And I think this is the defense has never been a problem, in my opinion, in New York. The defense has come to play this year. It's always been about the offense to get the offense on the right page. And there have been so many rumors about them acquiring this person, acquiring Devontae Adams, just continuing to add to the stockpile of talent that they have, talent being in quotation marks. I think arguably they have the best running back in the AFC in Breece Hall. And I think we will see what he can do with a quarterback that's able to get him the ball in the passing game as well. And when you're able to stretch the field with the Garrett Wilson as well, you're able to open up those lanes in the run in the backfield for Breece Hall. I like Miami to make the playoffs. I think this is going to be a back and forth race for that division. I don't think the team that wins this division is going to have more than 11, maybe 12 wins in this division. I think they have a rather tough schedule. I think they play Houston, even though they did not win the division. So I think they must play the AFC South. So you're playing Houston, you're playing Indianapolis, you're playing Jacksonville. They play Green Bay late in the season as well. I think they play the AFC West because they play the Rams in San Francisco. So they quietly have a pretty tough schedule. And I'm not sure like I've said before, I don't know how many games you can win if you don't have the best quarterback based off your schedule. And I think that's going to be the thing that's going to be kind of holding them back, in which they come in second and never win come in the wild card spot. But I do have the Jets winning the division. I have Miami second. Buffalo, I think they take a major step back. The loss of talent that they have on defense, not including Stephon Diggs on offense, I think they take a step back. And this will be the year that shows you who Josh Allen is. Like I said, we've seen Mahomes and Lamar win without talent. Can Josh Allen do that? That will tell a lot, in my opinion, about Josh Allen. And the Patriots will fight for the number one seed for number one draft pick overall. And we'll see. We'll see how good Drake May is. Because if he's not good, you're going to draft another quarterback. You can't wait and kind of hold on to your draft pick because you made a bad decision. You picked the third out of 5 quarterbacks to win the first round. If you have that number one pick, you have your choice of either Shador or I believe it's like Carson Beck out of Georgia. I think that's his name, but they're bringing up the rear. So, and just to summarize, like I said, I have the Jets finishing first, Miami, Buffalo, and then New England bring up the rear in the AFC East.
All right. I got Miami finishing in first place. I think that's clearly established off of my history with the Dolphins. I love the Dolphins. I think they pretty be a formidable opponent in the playoffs. But I don't see it, guys. I'm sorry. I don't see it with the Jets. I know everybody's on that Jet train. They were on it last year as well. I don't see them being better than Buffalo. I know that Buffalo's lost some pieces, but the injury history, I said the same thing with the Ravens. Aaron Rodgers is not getting younger. He's getting older. These injuries continue to pile up. It happened this last year in Green Bay, last couple years in Green Bay. It happened again first quarter last year. What he lasted 4 plays. If he goes down again, do you have faith in this roster that the Jets have put together to take this thing all the way? They go out and get a Mike Williams to add to that receiving core. I get it. They got some talent. They have talented players that do what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. Catch the ball and run. Some guys that he works well with. Everybody's high on Breece Hall. That's all well and fine. But I just don't like the makeup of this team. And I think it's too Aaron Rodgers centric. And I get it. You build around what you have. I just don't see that skill set that you all are lauding being that great. Like, none of these players have proven me anything. Last year they went 7-10, I believe. A lot of their wins was against low-level teams. They didn't beat anybody of any note. Defense was good. Don't get me wrong. Not going to disrespect the defense. Sauce Gardner is a stud. But I just don't see it. I don't see this team being that great. And I think everybody is on this hype train for the Jets. I'm sorry.
So
I got more.
So you they went 7-10. You said
they went 7-10
with Zach Wilson. So Aaron Rodgers can't get them 3 to 4 more victories.
Okay, that's good enough to be in second place, but you fighting for a wild card. I think there's going to be some other teams that might be better than them. They're not making the playoffs.
You got Miami winning 12, 13 games?
I got Miami winning the division. I don't think 2 teams is coming out of the East. If it is, Buffalo is going to be the other one.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I don't think the Jets are that good. Aaron Rodgers, go back and look at his last year in Green Bay. Then go back and look last year again. The guy is a finger pointer, and when things start going downhill, that's what happens. Like, it goes downhill. I think we remember the great years in Green Bay, and that's well and fine. I love it.
It was like 2 seasons ago.
It was 2-3 seasons ago. Last year,
when he was the MVP.
He couldn't even make the playoffs his last year in Green Bay. Remember that? All you had to do was win 1 game.
That wasn't that great. That wasn't a great roster, too.
He was limping. It was the same roster he'd been had. He just had some young receivers. And those receivers have turned out to be pretty good. And they the guys that y'all said Green Bay's going to be sensational with Jordan Love, right?
Yeah, they're like 3 to 4 more years better in the league.
But some of that was Aaron Rodgers' decisions with the football. If you go back and look, the guy was like taking sacks unnecessarily because his mobility has been compromised. And now he's coming off a year where he was injured on the first drive of the year, 4 plays in, you think he's going to get faster? You think he's going to be healthier? I think it's going to be even slower. And the offensive line for the Jets notoriously is not good. Yes, they went out in the offseason and you go out and get a Tyron Smith. Calvin, tell us about Tyron Smith. Is he that great? Huh?
He was a reject in Dallas. He was great. Past tense.
Years ago. You go get a John Simpson, solid. Morgan Moses. We know all about Morgan Moses in Baltimore. Is Morgan Moses a life changer? Huh? Like,
is he better than what they had?
We'll see. We shall see. But mobility is my issue with Aaron Rodgers. Remember, Morgan Moses was blocking for Lamar Jackson, who has some mobility, who can move around and make him look probably better than where he really was. I'm saying Aaron Rodgers, I need to see it. I think he's a sensational mind for the game. Don't get me wrong. He was my favorite quarterback for a very long time. Anybody know that? I used to root for him over anybody. But at some point, what is he, 40? At some point, you have to be like, hey, guys, there's an end for everybody. Like, and that cliff, once it come, he could not beat the Bucs that year. It pissed me off so bad, and it was Aaron Rodgers' fault. Well, nobody else's fault. He could not beat. Remember in the playoffs, every year it's something with this guy.
Yeah, because
I know you remember. It's always something with this guy. And last year, all they had to do, not last year, 2 years ago, they had to win like the last game of the season, and it would have been a long shot because they would have been the record wasn't even that good, but it was like a way they could have squeaked their way into the playoffs. And it was a dud. So again, this is not just started. It's been slowly going downhill, and I just don't see him changing life for the Jets. It reminds me of Brett Favre when he went to the Jets a little bit. And I think Brett was on my nerves at that point too. What significant changes did they make in the offseason to make this team go from 7-10 to whatever they're going to be? It's Aaron Rodgers. Clearly, he's the guy. But I just don't know. I need to see it. Buffalo, on the other hand, I still think Josh Allen is good enough as a mobile quarterback to make the playoffs. As much as I talked about not liking what the Ravens have done to make that team better, I think Buffalo didn't make that team better as well. But I still pick the Ravens to make the playoffs. I'm still picking Josh Allen to make the playoffs because I think a quarterback of that stature
two teams ain't making the playoffs for this division.
Yeah,
I said if they do, it would be the Buffalo Bills, not the New York Jets.
We don't operate in ifs.
But now you're making a case for Josh.
Now I'm just going in the order of who's going to finish in the division. I haven't picked who's making the playoff stuff yet. I'm just saying if there is another team from the East to make the playoff as a wild card, it will be Buffalo. I don't think the Jets are better than Buffalo. I just don't. So, and we can look at the roster for the Bills and see the difference is they have a younger, stronger, faster quarterback. They still got that guy. So it is what it is. You lose Gabe Davis. You lose Stefon Diggs. You lose Gabe Davis. You lose some good players.
They lost Jordan Poyer, Michael Pride.
Again,
I forgot the linebacker name.
They lost some great Leonard Floyd. They lost some good players. I'm not going to take that away from them. But I still think at the end of the day, when you got that guy, he can get you over some humps in some games that might make the difference. Again, I'm not picking two teams from the East to make the playoffs. I'm taking the Dolphins. But if I was to say who's going to finish in second, I'm going with Buffalo. I'm just preparing for the injury. You got to prepare for the injury sometime.
You're right.
You do. And you're counting on Mike White and who's the backup now? Because I think Wishcombe's gone.
I don't know a team that can lose their starting quarterback and still beat maybe if we got Joe Flacco. But besides that, I don't know a team that loses their starting quarterback and still can compete and make the playoffs.
Yeah, but you also got to take into account the injury history of the quarterback, though. You had to take into account how many other teams starting a 40-year-old quarterback.
He missed last year.
But he's 40. How many other teams in the league right now are counting on a 40-year-old quarterback?
Is Joe Burrow injury prone? He missed one season, missed half the last season. Is Lamar injury prone? He hasn't finished 2 seasons out of 5.
Lamar not 40.
Okay.
Like when you get older, them injuries will give him a little bit harder to bounce back from.
He got some dead antler spray. I ain't worried.
All right, man. I'm just keeping it real. Like We've seen this before. Russ is not even as old as Aaron Rodgers. And you're talking about he might be out of the league after this season. That's what you just said.
With that being said, if it was at the tail end of the season and all those things, I got you. I would have been 100% with you. But the fact that it was the first play, the first series, and he pretty much had the entire year, and he quote unquote could have made it back last year, quote unquote.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. But the fact is, he was walking on the sooner side than I would like to see. So I believe he's pretty good to go.
All right, and again, I would love to be proven wrong because Aaron Rodgers traditionally was one of my favorite quarterbacks, but I just like to keep it real. I'm sorry, I don't see it, man. Everybody on this jet hype train because they're from New York. Let's move on. The South, AFC South. It's the hype train. You one of the conductors. How do you see the South going, Calvin? Let's start with you.
Look, I think Houston runs away with this. I'd love to be down there in Houston on December 25th when they play the Ravens. A whole another subject. But I think Houston runs away with this. I think they are the clear and cut the best team in this division. I think they can go 5-1, 6-0 in this division. And I think, but outside of Kansas City and Baltimore, their schedule is pretty winnable. I think they will contend to be the number 1 seed overall in the AFC just because of that, because of the division that they play in, and because of, like I said, they play Houston and they play Kansas City and Baltimore, and they play Baltimore late. So it may not even matter just based off what they do early on that schedule. I think they run away with this division. I'm really high on CJ Stroud. I think he's one of my bets to most passing yards in the league as well. When you add a third receiver in Diggs, when you look at what he did last year without Tank Dell, who was arguably his best receiver at that point, he still continued to put up 4,100 passing yards. You added Joe Mixon, who I'm not expecting much from, but I'm expecting that veteran leadership, be able to catch the blitz and give you timely first downs on short yard situations as well. I'm completely high on this team. I have them winning the division. I have them contending for number 1 overall seed. Second, I have Jacksonville. I'm slightly worried about Trevor Lawrence. He got paid this offseason. We need to see more growth from him. At this point, like I said, like I talked about in with the AFC East, there are games in which you have this quarterback who's a top 5 paid quarterback who will not be the best quarterback in a lot of matchups that he plays. Indianapolis, I'm worried about some things I'm hearing about Anthony Richardson just from opponents as well in regards to his lack of throwing ability. I'm not sure if this is just gamesmanship or the actual concerns or actual things that he needs to work on. He missed the majority of last season, so this is in essence his rookie season. Just want to see more growth from him as well. In Tennessee, I was never a fan of Will Levis. I think they have the worst quarterback in that division. I think they'll be drafting a quarterback next year. Hopefully we see more. We see what he is about. We know he had this great initial game last year. They're already down DeAndre Hopkins as well, who's already banged up early on in the season. They have Tony Pollard, not sure what you really can expect from him, and not really sure why you signed him when you had Spears as well. So that's the division. That's how I have this division going. At Houston 1, Jacksonville 2, Indianapolis 3, and Tennessee 4, and I only have Houston making the playoffs in this division.
Justin, how you see this going?
Houston, the Colts, Jaguars, Tennessee. I'm not high on the last two. I think Trevor comes back to removing the Prince status that he has. I just don't think he's that good, to be 100% honest with you. I think he's more the sum of his parts, and with a great solid team, then he can actually be much, much better. But he can't make that many people that much better. I think he's fallen victim to that. With that being said, the two that we're talking about, yes, Houston will win the division. We all know who they got and what they got, and I get all that. But I'm not willing to give up on Jonathan Taylor yet. I believe he's in for a monster season. I believe him and AR will pretty much be in sync, to be 100% honest with you. You're going to hear Mike Pittman for this year because AR will have the ability to lob the ball up to him, whereas because you have to worry about Jonathan Taylor. Like, I'm not going to forget that he wasn't one of the best backs 2 years ago, and then he got hurt. and then now he has to recover from his injury and getting himself back together. This is the year that he's supposed to take off and be dominant again. He is 100%. So when you have that strong of a running game and you have a Cam Newton-esque quarterback, yes, he might not be able to make all the passes. Guess what? He doesn't have to because his talent is better than yours. So with that being said, if you look at their schedule, the Colts' last 5 games are very winnable. Like they can literally gain steam to make a wild card push. So they're gonna have their ups and downs. I'm not knocking that, but with the schedule is the way it is, I truly believe they're gonna be pushing for a wild card when it's all said and done. So definitely Colts number 2 in the division.
Interesting. I agree with you. I took Houston to win the division, and I like the Colts. I like what they've done. I want to see what Anthony Richardson does. We saw flashes of it last year. I've always been a Jonathan Taylor fan. I think he kind of, got a lot of mileage on that body a couple years ago, especially when my man Jeff Saturday took over the team. I think he kind of rode him hard and rode him into the ground a little bit. But I think if they still have a solid receiving core, I think they really have a well-balanced defense. We've seen the players that they've lost over the last few years. Shaq Leonard, really, man, that's such a story that I think is overlooked. What the hell happened to this guy? This guy was one of the most dominant linebackers in the league. The injuries just quickly piled up. But anyway, I think the Colts won some games last year that really stunned some people under Gardner Minshew. And I think if they get Anthony Richardson playing to his potential, and with that receiving core, running game, I think that team will make a really big push for a wild card spot. I get the Jacksonville hype, but I'm not a Trevor Lawrence fan. I don't see it. The receiving core is shaky at best, in my opinion. ETN is not used at his highest maximum potential. I don't like everything about that offense. I'm not a fan of it. So I like the Colts in second place. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think because if you look at the numbers, you got to crunch it. 7 teams, 3 wild cards. That's tough. I think if you're going to get 2 wild cards, maybe even 3 is going to come out of the North. You're going to get 2 out. So you might get 2 out of the North, and that leaves room for 1 out of the West. So it's going to be tough once these numbers start crunching to get a wild card from all these different divisions. So I think if there is a team to fight for, it would be the Colts from the South. But I just don't see it with the Titans. I think they have Will Levis is a good quarterback, good young guy, but they still lost too many pieces. Losing a Derrick Henry is going to be big for them. But I like Houston in this division. I think they're the class, and they're going to fight for one of those top spots in the AFC. Let's keep it moving.
Let me say this real quick. I know Justin mentioned their last 5 games and how they're winnable. Their first 12 games are tough, and I think that's why I don't have them second in the division. Like if they went 4-8 their first 12, I wouldn't be surprised just based off who they play. When you look at their schedule, they go Houston, Green Bay, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Miami, Houston, Minnesota, Buffalo, Jets, Detroit. Like if they won 4 of those games, I wouldn't be surprised. And even so, you're talking about starting in a hole, in my opinion. And like it's the 4 games that you say that they win, it's because they have the better quarterback of the 2, and that's if Pittsburgh doesn't figure it out. That's if Will Levis doesn't have a great game. So there's still so many buts and what ifs, in my opinion. That's why I think they may be a year too soon, but their schedule is so tough to start off with.
We'll see. All right, let's move on. Next up, you got to go to the West. And this division has been ran by the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending NFL Super Bowl champions. Patrick Mahomes coming off another Super Bowl MVP. Team is very, very top heavy, but man, it's just tough picking this guy. Like they cut Kadarius Toney even today. They went out and re-signed to Juju Smith-Schuster, bringing him back. Hollywood Brown went down with injury. Damn, I just don't know. It's like, but you look at the team last year, and you're like, there's no way this team is going to make the Super Bowl. but they were carried by their defense, and the defense is just as good, if not better. Retooled a little bit. Patrick Mahomes is still the quarterback, and is one thing I don't do, and that's bet against Patrick Mahomes. So it's tough because realistically, on paper, they made no big time moves other than bringing in Hollywood Brown. He's hurt. You cut Kadarius Toney. I think that's a net positive. What can you turn to be like, this team is going to be better? You lose Mecole Hardman. You lose a Ladarius Sneed, who was one of your best cornerbacks. I don't know, but I'm still picking them to win the division because look at the rest of these guys. The Chargers have a lot of questions. Could this be a wild card team? Yes. Could Jim Harbaugh go out there and really change life and change the philosophy, with the running game and really, really pound that football and give Justin Herbert additional options and different things to do? They lost their top receivers. Yes. So I see them definitely finishing in second place, but Denver doesn't scare you. And Las Vegas, while they played well last year, and I give all the credit in the world to the turnaround they had under new head coach
Antonio
Pierce. Give him all the credit in the world. But Devontae Adams still wants the football. And I don't think they got a quarterback who can get it to him. So, no. I'm going with Kansas City in first place, and I got the Chargers in second. Justin, who you got?
This is the division that only one team comes out. Let's just call it what it is. So when you just went over that and the 7 and the breakdown and all that, this is that one team. We are looking at the Patriots all over again, and you look at that. Oh, they lost Richard Seymour. They lost this dude. They lost that dude. Well, they still got 12, and they still got Belichick. Same thing here. They still got Patrick Mahomes, and they still got Andy Reid. And I'm gonna throw in Travis Kelce just to throw him in there. It just doesn't matter. So with that being said, if they have that, put them aside. Let's talk about the other three. That's pretty much what we're talking about. And I think the Chargers are a stud running back away from being a dominant team in this particular division. Not even the dominant, but just having some respect for themselves. You can't go with this. We're gonna run the ball on all this rah-rah stuff. And shout out to Gus Edwards. He's a very good running back, but he's more of a complimentary running back. And then the other guy, J.K., has come off injury and things like that. It's just not. They don't have the players yet. With that being said, it could be one season away, one draft away. You need a nice rookie running back to take that load. From what Harbaugh wants to hand out. You move to the other two teams, and shout out to Gardner Minshew. I believe in Gardner Minshew to be last in this division. And then we go over to Denver, and I believe Sean Payton can have them playing much better than what they played last year. But we're not talking about a significant change here or there. So I think the bottom three teams are going to be maybe a couple of games apart from each other. It's Kansas City, and it's their invitational, and we're just going to just sit here and wait for it. So it's not too much to say about this division. I feel bad I'm rooting for Antonio to be better. Shout out to Antonio Pierce, but you got Gardner Minshew, bro. That's your quarterback.
Yeah.
This is Kansas City and everybody else. That's all I got. I'm more interested, like with the Chargers. Justin Herbert has this plantar fasciitis. You know how that can come and go throughout the season. If they get to a point where they're heading towards that top 5 pick, that they just sit him down. We know they're in salary cap hell this year. They took the cap hits from Keenan Allen and from Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Like, they're just getting all the salary cap off their books, and they'll be right back next year, and they'll have a top pick most likely. They have a young quarterback. They have a rebuilt offensive line. So I think they're next year, like Justin said, they will be more of a competitor to compete again for the division. Denver is basically battling to be the worst team in the division, worst team in the league as well. And like you said, Antonio Pierce is a great motivator. He just doesn't have a quarterback, and I don't know if Devontae Adams will be there next year when he has the potential to draft a quarterback as well. But this is Kansas City and everyone else. Because Kansas City did not improve, and they're still the best team in this division. Is Rashee Rice playing? I mean, is he getting suspended? I haven't heard anything about that since
I
the
haven't
incident
heard anything
happened.
definitive.
They
Okay.
said it's been so long now that the ruling might not take into effect until mid-season if it does come this season. So now we're looking at mid-season of him having maybe 2 to 4 games that he has to sit out for.
Okay.
And by that time, they should probably already be flowing away as though they can just fill his position with another receiver that they have.
Really?
Okay.
Can they though? With Sky
Uh,
Moore?
They
By
could
that
do
time-
enough to. They could do enough that it won't matter.
I'm about to say by that time, Xavier Worthy would have been 6, 7 games under his belt, and he wasn't the fastest in the league for no reason. You know, so let's give him some leeway.
We'll see.
He's still got Patrick Mahomes.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
That's
That's all that matters.
This was short and sweet, in my opinion. It wasn't much to talk about.
No. Let's move over to the NFC because the level of competition and the really takes a step down, in my opinion. This conference has really not been great in the last several years, but there's still something to talk about. Let's start with the NFC East. Really big time division in years past, and there still might be a dogfight here at certain points. So, Calvin, I'm gonna let you start off. Requisite Cowboy fan. How do you see this East going?
Similar to last year, I think Philadelphia had takes a stranglehold early on, but they will hold on to win the division. I don't see them imploding internally as they did last year. Got Philadelphia win this division.
Wow.
Dallas, they just haven't improved enough. They're question about offensive line, question about the running back, questions about defensive back. And then you're in a position where you can't really add in free agency to improve your team. I don't know if this team makes the playoffs. They'll struggle, in my opinion, to make the playoffs with the lack of depth and lack of playmakers that they have. I think Washington comes in third in the division. I think Jaden Daniels puts up offensive rookie of the year numbers. I think he's the best rookie quarterback. He's the best rookie quarterback that's going to make a difference because he's going to have better numbers because his team will be down so much. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Caleb, but he'll have better numbers than Caleb because his team will be down. He'll have the ability to throw more. That's just my opinion there. And New York Giants, they have Daniel Jones. Hopefully after this year, they finally make the decision to get rid of him and start over. They could have done it this past season, but they decided to kind of put their eggs in his basket again. So like I said, I got Philly starting winning the division, Dallas coming in second, Washington coming in third, surprising a couple teams as well, and the Giants bringing up the rear.
You got Dallas. Excuse me.
No.
Dallas a wild card?
We'll see.
I think they can grab the 7 spot only because I don't have 2 teams in the South. So I think they can grab that 7 spot.
Justin, your thoughts on the East?
Philadelphia running away to a division.
Okay.
I believe Saquon makes them. They're just gonna be a tough out, man. I was watching this one clip real quick, and Devontae and AJ was on the sideline, and they saw a screen pass that Saquon caught, and he drew so fast on impact of the ball that the defender, he wasn't supposed to move like that. And then they had a look on their face like, that's going to be with us all season. Like, it was one of those things where the rest of the team was starting to realize what they have in the Saquon Barkley that the league kind of forgot about because he played with the Giants. So with that being said, I truly believe their defense will catch up. I believe the offense is that stout, but the defense will catch up mid-season, and then they're going to be one formidable team headed through. So you got CeeDee Lamb just signed, Micah Parsons, got Dak Prescott. Man, we got some heavy hitters. And with the number 2 team in this division, I'm going to Washington. I believe Washington over Dallas, and Dallas will be the laughing stock only because it's Dallas of the league. I think they're going to implode right before our eyes, and changes are going to come right after this season. I think I don't think Dak's going to play inspired football. You brought over Ezekiel just to help sell fan tickets. He's garbage. You can see in the workouts he's using the season to get in shape. This ain't basketball. You don't do that. You're supposed to come in ready. Like it's
like Zion Williamson.
Like it just doesn't look good. Their defense is suspect. I still don't think we've been going through this Diggs situation like he's back to 100%. Michael Paulson beat him in a foot race. He's not 100%. He's not there yet. So it's just like we're just glossing over these things, and it's just like eventually a lot of this stuff is going to catch up with him, and I believe it is. I believe JD5 is electrifying. I believe he's going to put the league on notice, similar to what CJ Stroud did. I'm not saying Caleb is going to have a bright young season. I'm just saying JD is going to have a CJ Stroud type of a season.
When I said that, you kind of side-eyed me like I was taking your thunder. Well, at first I thought you disagreed with me, but you just mad I said it before you. I know what's going on.
A little bit.
I mean, did everybody see how he looked in the preseason? He looked great.
So it is what it, and I've been called JD5. I say he was one to have a better season than Caleb, especially if they bring over Brandon. So that's still up in the air. Hopefully that happens. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that this is the laughingstock of the league when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys.
Damn.
And we're going to have to hear Stephen A. Smith the entire season because of this. So thank you, Dallas Cowboy and Jerry Jones. I appreciate you.
I just think it's very odd that in the division where you have Jerry Jones in the most, the richest franchise, the most high-value franchise in sports, period, in the world, like the Philadelphia 76ers have a general manager who, quite frankly, runs circles around the Cowboys.
Oh, we're still talking about basketball, football.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh.
Jeffrey Lurie, this guy is the best general manager in all of football, and it's not even close. How have they, year after year, I like to see the books. How do they continue to retool the way they do? They bring in running backs, receivers, corners, defensive linemen out their ass. Like, they just pull people out of like, how did they get this?
And they're drafting well too.
Of course. But if you look at getting a Saquon is a splash move, of course. But for most teams, that would be it. You know what I mean? Like, look at the Ravens. You go out and get you a Derrick Henry. That's all they had the money to do. I mean, they done after that. These guys go get you a Saquon. Then, we're not done. Let's go get who we needed? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, let's go short the back end. We need Paris Campbell. A lot of people don't know about Paris Campbell. Great receiver. Put him over there. When we already got an AJ Brown, when we already got a Devontae Smith, so he's they loaded.
And who's the kid they traded from Washington?
They just did that the other day. Like why would you give up your boy Washington receiver? The receiver they
Dawson.
Jahan Dawson.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the division? Like, yo, he's the best general manager in sports, and it's not close. Like, this is not fair. Like, where are they finding the money? You go get a Devontae Parker as well. It must have been an injury or something. Why do you need all these receivers? Like, if Jalen Hurts doesn't have a sensational year, and you added a Saquon, that's the class of the division. I don't think there's anything. I just am astonished by the moves he's able to make every offseason. You lose some players like, Fletcher Cox retires. That might hurt,
Jason Kelce.
Yeah. But you're like, nah, hold my beer. We're gonna go get some guys that
they must have a hell of a pitch, to your point, Larry, because when they picked up AJ Brown, it was like, how did Tennessee let him go that easily? And then, like you said, Saquon Barkley. Well, what are Giants? Why are you letting him go that easily? It seemed like they have the type of GM that says, "So y'all not gonna make the call? Okay, I made the call. Y'all not gonna do it? I'll just go ahead and do it. Don't worry about it." That's the type of GM they have.
Every team wants their GM to be that active. I don't care who you are. You don't even have to be a Philly fan. You gotta respect the hustle. Like,
speaking of Philly, and you said the 70, and I was joking with the 76ers, it does remind me of
Yeah.
Daryl Morey. Like,
Daryl
Morey will stay with a good team. He will get you a superstar or two. They might not work. That's not his problem. I
And
will
fill the
get
roster
you a
out.
superstar in your building.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at it.
But yeah, like again, so we don't have to belabor that point, but I just had to make that point. Golly, how do they keep doing it? Like, you go get a Devontae, like whatever.
And then you pay both of them too.
Yes, and able to retain the talent.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dallas, I'm not as down on them as others maybe, but the running game is a problem. It really is. It's a real issue. We'll see if they go get a Dalvin Cook. I'm not saying Dalvin Cook will answer your prayers because he has an injury history as well. He's getting a little older, a little longer in the tooth. But I think they're doing Dak a disservice by not giving him a running game. I'm sorry. Like, when Dak was at his best, can we agree to that play action game, that running game, that balancing was the best? But just expecting him to be a drop back passer, put him on an island, that's when his mistakes come. He'll play great for 70% of the game, but you know he's going to give you a couple bonehead decisions if you keep exposing him. And I completely don't blame all this on Jerry Jones. A lot of this is Mike McCarthy and the style of coaching that he had when he had Aaron Rodgers. When you're used to having a quarterback like, just put it in his hands and let him go to work. That's how McCarthy's style was in Green Bay.
So you saying he's giving
Dak his ass up out of that too?
You saying he's giving Dak too much freedom?
I think that will give him too much freedom because now you say, who's the running back I have to defer to? Who do I have to make sure gets their touches because they're so effective? Who's that running back now? Nobody. They have nobody that you say, oh, he need at least 15 to 20 touches to be successful. Now you're like, Dak has to be great, throwing the ball 40 times a game for us to win, right? And that's what the Aaron Rodgers effect was in Green Bay. Even though you had an Aaron Jones, even though you went out and you get that big thunder back in he got hurt the other day as well. Big fella in Green Bay to back up running back. Anyway,
Dillon, yeah.
Yeah, AJ Dillon. I think he's done for the year.
Yeah, he's done for the year.
Oh, I ain't say that.
Yeah, he's done for the year. So even though you got those two running backs, Aaron Rodgers would still be like, no, we're throwing it. We're throwing it. And I think that's when you get in trouble, when you become one-dimensional. Tom Brady could get away with that for an extent, a later part of his career, but that's not how most teams are successful. Those are anomalies. And I think Dak throws interceptions when he's put on the island like that. So,
and shout out to Tom Brady when he didn't have a running game, and he's famous for this. And you can see other quarterbacks try to do what he does. Those check downs, those 2-yard joints, those were extended running plays.
That's what they were.
Credit. He still kind of ran the ball. It just came out of his hand.
Yeah. Once you start short fishing, that's what you're doing. You checking down. Check down Charlie. It moves the ball down the field. Is Dak going to be content with that? Is that his style of game? And who's the receiver to do that with? You tell me, Calvin. You know the roster maybe a little better than me. Who's this check down guy? Yeah, really. Okay. So, yeah, I agree with you. Washington, on the other hand, I think they're a team of upside. I need to see it to believe it. So I'm not going to jump out there and automatically put them above the Cowboys because we've seen them crumble against the Cowboys or other teams that were a little better than them. I'm not ready to make that leap yet. I think Dallas will finish in second place. Playoffs talking, we'll talk about that later. But, yeah, that's how I got it. So all of us have Philly as the class of the division. I don't agree. Washington, we both got Dallas in second. Justin, you got Washington leaping them. So we all got the Giants at last. So that's not hard to pick. They suck. All right. And they've done nothing to improve that roster. That's pathetic. Malpractice in New York. Next up, let's talk about the West. Kick us off, Calvin.
I like how you got this old St. Louis Rams look up here.
Hey.
I definitely look like, who the hell is this team? Look, I think San Francisco, this is their division. It bothers me that you have problems with Ayuk and you have problems with Trent Williams. It bothers me. Does it bother me enough to say I'm going to take the Rams? Not with the loss of Aaron Donald, who I think is the leader of that team. And I don't know how you can replace him on defense when he made everyone around him from the safety in the backfield to the corner better. I just don't know if you can improve enough on defense if you are the Rams. And I think San Francisco, as close as it is, they have the best coach in the division. as close as it is with I was going to say McCarthy with not McCarthy. I'm blanking on the Rams coach
McVay.
McVay. With McVay, I still think they have the best coach. I think they have the best roster in that division. I'm excited to see what Marvin Harrison does. There have been like so many just great reports on Marvin Harrison, and I'm excited to see what he does with Kyler Murray. I think he'll improve Kyler Murray. He'll make him a better quarterback. And coming up last in this division, I have Seattle. I don't know what Geno. I've never been high on Geno. I think they had a chance not last year, but 2 years ago to draft a quarterback, the future of the quarterback for that team, and they didn't do it. Yes, you still have DK. You have an aging offense, in my opinion. You still have key playmakers at certain positions, but I don't like the quarterback position, and I'm high on that. I'm high on quarterbacks, and I think if you have the worst quarterback in the division, I can't have you succeed in that division. So I'm going to have Seattle bring up the rear in that division. New coach Mike McDonald, I think his defense is still a year away. They lost key pieces. He has some younger guys. So you just have to have him in that position. He doesn't have the leaders that he had in Baltimore to make that defense succeed. This is not talking about anything about his coaching style. I just think he doesn't have the players. And I think he's still a year away. I have San Francisco in this division. I have the Rams in second, both teams making playoffs. I have Arizona in third, and I have Seattle bringing up the rear in that division.
You know, your hate for Geno Smith is absolutely pathetic, and it's something to be studied. Like you hate this man so much, and it's pathetic.
I don't hate him. What has he done?
What has he done? Justin, go on. Give us your thoughts on the
what has he done.
I gotta call you out, Calvin, because when I did my Cardinals, which is like when the first week we was doing this, I was like, I believe that the Cardinals are going to catch up with said Seattle, whatever the case may be, say I'm going to come back down. You done went past that and say they're going to be the worst in the division. Did the preseason change it for you or something like that? You laughed at me when I said that. That's why I remember so much. Y'all was laughing.
You got the Cardinals to finish higher than Seattle too.
That's neither here nor there.
He wanted to be his sole voice in the wilderness.
You changed, not me. I was supporting Cardinals.
So he don't get the Geno Smith hate either? How come I'm only going to get Geno Smith hate?
But you hated him last year in person.
With that being said, I believe that they're going to be tied. I don't think one's going to be over the other. I believe they're going to have the same record, and it's going to be bad for Seattle because they're going to have to come down to get that to that record. And Arizona's on their way up to eventually surpass some other teams in the division move forward. With that being said, the two teams that's going to make the playoffs, led by San Francisco being number one, is number two, the Rams. I am high on the Rams. Only because I love the way they ended the season. If you could tell me that Conor Williams is going to be that same guy this whole year, even if you got a game plan for him now, okay, he wasn't on the scouting reports. Okay, great. If you tell me Cooper Kupp is now healthy, 100%, and now you got a year or two of Puka Nacua, and even if he doesn't have the same exact year, it's still year two for him, and he's going to be pretty much a dominant player because Cooper Kupp is now healthy. And you see Matthew Stafford, it doesn't matter who's open. If you open, I'm throwing the ball. I'll spread this thing around. It doesn't matter to him. So if you can say that Matthew Stafford is going to stay on his feet the entire season, which is a big if for him and his whole career, but he has stretches where he does do that. I believe they push San Fran. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a multiple game type of deficit or anything like that. I believe Rams are going to be 1 or 2 games behind them. That's how strong I believe in the Rams this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with y'all 1 and 2, definitely. I think they're the class of division. I love what the Rams have done, even in a year when a lot of people didn't see them being as good as they would be, to get their weapons back. I honestly think they will push San Fran for that top spot in the West, and I think this division will be pretty tight. Defensively, I just think that the Cardinals don't have what y'all think they have or y'all banking on. And I don't believe in the health of Kyler Murray. He's not shown me his ability to stay healthy. As I mentioned earlier, when you have injuries that keep racking up in his small frame like that, this team will finish last in the division. I don't really care to debate about who's finished last in the division. It's irrelevant. But I think these two teams definitely will represent the division in the playoffs. And I think if the Rams show up like I assume they will, and I'm predicting they will, they might push San Francisco because this Brandon Ayuk situation, I will want to see a resolution to that before the season starts because that can be issue. Trent Williams, we know about his situation right now.
That's
It's just
big
a lot of
Ayuk.
there's a lot of questions about the 49ers right now, and I'm not disrespecting them, saying they won't. They're not a top team. I actually, we're gonna make my predictions in a little bit. I think they're going to go pretty far, but I believe in the Rams that much that I'm actually saying that they will compete with them. So very tough division and should be very interesting. And let's finish this one up with. Excuse me, we got two more. Let's go to the North. I'll start us off. A lot of people have been picking the Green Bay Packers to come out successful on top of this division here lately, but I don't see it that way. I think that Detroit, a lot of people have been picking them because of what they did last year. I don't see it that way. I see the class of this division as the Chicago Bears. I'm gonna tell you
why.
Okay. I think the Bears have everything you need to be successful long term. I like the young players they have. That offense is loaded. And getting a Caleb Williams, starting at quarterback, I think he's a lot better prepared to handle that spotlight than Justin Fields was. I think he's more of a complete quarterback than Justin Fields was. Justin Fields was a good quarterback in college, but his athleticism was mainly what drove him. I think Caleb Williams' arm will be the main central piece for why this team is as good as they are. I think they surround him with good weapons that he's going to utilize. The defense was not terrible last year. If you go back, a lot of what happened was the offense could not sustain, and when Fields couldn't put the ball where it needed to be, when it needed to be there. And I think that won't be a problem for Caleb Williams. Yes, any rookie will go through growing pains, but I think some of the points y'all were making earlier about Washington, I'll make about Chicago. A lot of comparisons, what we saw last year in Houston, I think will happen in Chicago. And I just think they have something that's ready to take them over the hump. Detroit is a team that I think has really, really, really burst onto the scene under Dan Campbell. And some of the moves they made over the last few years were very good. I'm not knocking them at all. I just don't have the faith in them that a lot of other people are having. I think some of the moves they made in the offseason, while solid, didn't do anything to improve my confidence in that team. Now, would I be shocked if Detroit on the division? No, I would not be. Am I going out on a limb to take Chicago? Of course I am. But I think sometimes you do have to just predict what you think is going to happen. And I think the addition of a good quarterback to this team, I think is DeAndre Swift. I just think that some of the moves that they made will make Chicago better. I'm going with the Bears, and I got Detroit finishing in second place. Green Bay will be third. And unfortunately, due to the injuries and some of the pieces they're missing, Minnesota will come in last in this division. Let's go with you, Justin.
So with that being said, I like that. You said that. You wrong, but you said that. Though. I appreciate you. Putting stuff out there like that. Sometimes it just needs to be said. Detroit is definitely winning this division by far. I won't say by far, but they're definitely winning the division again. They're just too talented, and they have all the right pieces at the right age. They have a quarterback that just wants to play the game, just wants to win games. He's not flashy. He's not none of that. He's very grateful for where he's at. And the fact that he's probably still in the league a little bit, to be honest with you. So shout out to Jared Goff on that one. When you have the talent that they have at every position, they're definitely just a class just better. And they have a rah-rah type spirit based off their coach. Sometimes it's two. But, for the regular season, it's for the good. It's for the greater good. I'm really going to see how good Jordan Love is this year. Is he the next Aaron Rodgers type of a quarterback? I love to see him play. He plays just like him. We will see. We will see. I like the fact that Josh Jacobs is going to get the majority of the workload for the running back position, especially now that AJ is done for the season. I don't like all that. Sometimes I don't want to be splitting backs all the time. if it's goal line, keep the ball in, let us get a touchdown, so on and so forth. I actually like that even more for them. Chicago will be definitely a close third, close enough ways though. The three teams might come from this. Excuse me, and I think Chicago will push for the last playoff spot for the wild card. And Minnesota, just I call this is Justin Jefferson's Randy Moss, Gus Frerotte year. Just throw the ball up. I'll do something with it. It don't matter who the quarterback is. Sam Darnold, you back there, just throw me the ball. As long as I stay healthy, I'm gonna make some plays. I'm gonna keep it entertaining, but we all know what it is. They're playing for next year, and it's okay. Sometimes it's okay. Like I said, I like the rookie JJ to sit back a year. I know he's injured, but you can really sometimes when you're not a highly touted, scouted prospect coming out, when you're on that lower tier, sometimes it's good to sit out a year. And this is one of those times to really get the flow of everything, and he'll be much better for it, in my opinion, next year.
Calvin.
I agree with a lot of what Justin said. Not counting Minnesota, taking Minnesota out of this equation. I think Detroit has the best quarterback, running back, receiver combo. Not counting Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, as I said, just between Chicago and Green Bay. And I think that's why they win the division. I think Chicago really complicates it because they have an easy schedule outside of the division, and they're going to play 2 games against Minnesota. Can they split with Green Bay and Detroit is the question. I'm not sure if they could do that just early on. Maybe later, Caleb Williams gets his footing and he'll become, kind of escape that rookie and go into his post-rookie campaign, as they call it, for his rookie season. I really like Detroit and Jared Goff. I think they have unfinished business. I think they're going to kind of continue what started last year. And Green Bay is kind of mysterious because they have Jordan Love. We saw 8 great games from him, and we got to figure out, is that the quarterback that he's going to be going into the future? That's the guy that they paid. Or is he going to be that quarterback we saw early on in the season? Not really sure what to expect from him. He has a more reliable running game. A.J. Dillon got hurt, so prior to that, I would have really liked the running game. But I'm just not sure if he has enough of the complementary pieces to compete with Detroit. So I have Detroit winning the division. I have Green Bay coming in second, and I have Chicago in third, fighting for a playoff spot as well. I think it comes down to the last couple weeks with Chicago, especially that last division matchup that they have in regular season. And of course, I have Minnesota, like everyone else, bringing up the rear. But I do have Detroit winning this division. I think they have the best quarterback, the best receiver, and the best running back out of anyone not named Justin Jefferson in the division. And I think this offense playing indoors and being able to just kind of control the tempo, pound the ball with Gibbs and Montgomery. You have Amon St. Brown. You have Jameson Williams. You have Samuel Porter. You just have weapons on weapons on weapons. As long as Jared Goff can continue what he started last year, and we saw this in LA where he had a great year, then all of a sudden he took a nosedive, can you just stay at that level? It's not even it's peak level for the NFC. That's all it is. It's peak level for the NFC. Can he stay at that level? And if he can, then they win the division.
That's why they won't do it, because expectations, pals. Expectations. Jared Goff never played well with expectations. We'll see. Let's move on to the final division, and that's the NFC South. Just in this division, near and dear you, of course, is the worst division in football. So let's start with you. What's your thoughts? You're muted.
Shut up. I think you said I'm gonna go ahead on and what it is it's gonna be very similar to. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna be honest. Let's just get off the damn fence. This season can go either 2 ways, man. I think I'm gonna pick a side. I have Tampa Bay winning the division. I think we're a very solid team, both offensively and defensively. Like I said in the breakdown, we re-signed everything we need to re-sign. We are putting a game plan around Baker Mayfield to see what he does best. We know what he does best. You put Chris Godwin in the slot. That's going to be his Landry when he was in Cleveland. He can always throw it up to Mike Evans, is what he did majority of last year. He can still do the same exact thing. We got burners playing the third and fourth receivers. Shout out to Trey Murphy. It's just that's just what it is. I wish we had a better tight end, but Cade Otton is good enough. defense. I love my defense, led by Levante David and Antoine Winfield Jr. To our pass rush with Yaya Diaby. Some people might not know that name, but just like y'all was name dropping for the Ravens, I can also name drop for my for
That's
the
what you're here for.
It is what it is. So we just have a solid team, and I think everybody else falls behind that. Carolina yet again will probably be the worst, maybe the worst in the division. I got them being last, but I think New Orleans will be right there with them. I think they've been teetering for the last few years, and Derek Carr is just not the answer for them, and they're going to suffer for it. They have two good running backs, but they don't use them the way you should be using them. Alvin Kamara he's still good. They got the boy that used to play for Detroit, Williams. They don't run him enough. Chris Olave is going to have a bad season because it's Derek Carr there. It's just they just don't have enough, and then that defense cannot hold a team down because they're getting older in the tooth. Don't matter who they bring over, they're getting older. So I believe all those things. The question mark is Atlanta. If Atlanta is still Atlanta, then they're going to be second. But if Atlanta can get it together, if Atlanta can exercise the demons, if Atlanta can actually, if Kirk Cousins can bring what he was in Minnesota, a healthy Kirk Cousins to Atlanta.
What the hell did he bring?
No, I'm just saying if he's healthy, he's still like I said. We just had an injury case for Aaron Rodgers. It's the same as that thing for Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's going to be 100% going into the season because he got his injury a little bit later than Aaron Rodgers, but he's a little bit younger. So it's just it depends on how great Kirk Cousins is. Kirk Cousins goes down with Eli Manning and some of these people. Just Let me finish.
Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer.
He's high praise. He's a great average quarterback.
That's disrespectful.
Sometimes
that's just better than Eli. Eli got 2 rings.
Sometimes great average quarterbacks lock on with a great defense, and then that defense can win them a championship, and someone has to be the MVP. So let's just we're not gonna bag on Eli Manning. Eli Manning was not that great, but he was a model of consistency. He was just average. That's it. Same thing for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is just an average quarterback. He's just great at being average. And sometimes that's good. That's good enough sometimes. So if you tell me that this great average quarterback now can use the weapons that's for him in Atlanta, you got Kyle Pitts. Everyone's waiting for Kyle Pitts to take off. The entire league is waiting for him to say, I am the best tight end in the league, and it's not even close. We see it. We see snippets of it. It just never comes to fruition. Maybe Kirk Cousins is the person to do that. We're waiting on Bijan Robinson to say, hey, LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, guess what? I'm one of those guys. That is extremely high praise, but when you see his work, he is that talented. And it's just, when will they show it? When will they showcase it? Shout out to Raheem Morris. He started off with Tampa Bay coaching. I wish him all the best, but if they can't get it together, they're going to be just an average team. If you're telling me that Kirk Cousins can bring his great average quarterback self down to the ladder and be that guy, then unfortunately it's their division for the next 3 to 4 years. So that's just how I feel about it. I don't think it starts this year, so I'm still staying with Tampa Bay. That is my stance. But if it's not Tampa Bay's time, then I'm gonna be worried about Atlanta for the next 5 years.
Calvin, go ahead.
As much crap as I give you about Tampa Bay, they did win the division last year. Now I had Atlanta.
You say for the last 3 years. We won the division for the last 3 years. Now
they did win the division last year with Baker Mayfield. The last 2 years with Tom Brady. Don't count Tom Brady in this conversation. We're not talking about Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield in the same conversation.
Okay,
doesn't matter. They won the division last year, and I will say Atlanta has a lot of pieces that came together this year, and it starts with a healthy quarterback. Will they actually utilize Bijan Robinson? Will they actually utilize Kyle Pitts, who's been this great anomaly that we just haven't seen? They add to the defense in Judon and Justin Simmons as well. they have all these pieces. They play in a weather friendly division.
Mm-hmm.
Can they actually put these pieces together this season? We will see. I think them and Tampa Bay will compete for this division. Tampa Bay still has Mike Evans. They still have arguably the second best quarterback in the division in Baker Mayfield. As much as I talk about him, he did show me something last year, and especially in competing against Detroit in that divisional playoff loss in Detroit. So as I was saying, I do have both of these teams competing for the division title, and I actually have both of these teams making the playoffs. And that I think that's surprisingly that I have two teams in the NFC South making the playoffs. Is bad. This division is, if you look at their schedule, they don't play anyone. Like their toughest teams are Philly. I think it's Philly, Green Bay, and Dallas. Outside of that, they play no one. This can easily be 2 10-7 teams battling out to try to win a division. And I think that's the only reason I have two teams making the playoffs. New Orleans, I'm not a Derek Carr, David Carr, whichever Carr is down there fan. Completely not a fan. Taysom Hill can do some numbers in fantasy. Alvin Kamara, I expect to have a good to great year because this is potentially his last year in New Orleans, and it's been so much talk about him possibly leaving, getting traded. The rumors about him coming to Baltimore at some point as well.
Here we go.
And I do think Bryce Young will have a better year than he had last year. Doesn't mean much because he really had a poor year last year. They have their picks, so they can add to that talent that they have in the draft. But I have Atlanta and I have Tampa Bay tying for that division, New Orleans in third, and then Carolina bringing up the rear.
I'll focus on Atlanta because I think Justin pretty much covered Tampa. I think that the disrespect towards Kirk Cousins it is what it is. Y'all call him average. I call him very good, solid.
I think he was great at being average.
He's not great at being average. He's great at being
that
a
was
quarterback in the
disrespectful
league.
to Eli Manning, and I'm not an Eli fan.
Eli's an average, a bad quarterback. Eli's a turnover machine who got 2 lucky Super Bowls. But anyway,
Eli beat Tom Brady from Super Bowl.
You're right, but he's a turnover machine.
The defense beat Tom Brady.
Agreed. Great defensive lines. Anyway, I just think that the injury to Kirk is the only cause for pause. They went out and got a Michael Penix Jr. to make sure Kirk could ease into the season and get healthy. And I think that will help him out. I want to see if they do focus the offense around Bijan Robinson. I think that might even be a good thing early in this season if Kirk is 100% healthy to kind of focus on that run game and really allow them to ease into the season. And like you said, we've been waiting for Kyle Pitts to emerge and really be featured. There's a new coaching staff, finally got rid of Arthur Smith, who could not figure out how to use a tight end. Anybody could have told you that because they never used one in Tennessee. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes this season. Tampa Bay, I like how Mike Evans played last year, really surprised some folks. Baker was able to get him the ball where he wanted it, really featured him as a real number one again. We haven't seen that from him in a while. So I do like some of the things that Tampa Bay represents. I just think it's just too many question marks about this down division for me to really hang my hat on much at all. Outside of somebody got to represent him in the playoffs. And I don't see the whole putting 2 people in thing. I don't see that. I think there'll be one team making the playoffs. If there is a wild card, that means something really went wrong in the rest of the NFC because this is the worst division in all of football, in my opinion.
Watch them out.
It simply is what it is. But speaking of divisions, we're going to move on. But just a little sidebar. Do you think it is worth a discussion on restructuring these divisions? Because I really, looking at the AFC South, AFC geographically, like some of these teams and where they are don't make sense geographically sometimes. Like look at the AFC East. You got Buffalo, New York, you got New England. And then you got Miami all the way down south. Wouldn't Miami make much more sense in the AFC South? The Colts in the AFC South, that's not South. Indianapolis is in Midwest. Why not move them? Like you can do a couple shuffling. I remember when remember the old Central. We were in the Central before. Remember there was different divisions. It wasn't like this. They
It was
just
3
did this.
divisions. Yeah.
Yeah, so they can do it again. I just think, especially when you're going to be expanding the season to 18 games starting next year, they talking about, and you're going to be moving things around. I just think reshuffling these divisions. What y'all think about that real quick as a sidebar?
I think the time to do that was when you went to this 4 team divisions and you went from 3, 5, and 6 team divisions, because that would have been the time, because like you said, you had the AFC East, but back when Baltimore was in Cleveland and the AFC East was basically just literally up and down the East Coast. Because you had Buffalo and Miami and New York. So you had those teams going on the East Coast. I don't think you do it now, because now you potentially mess with rivalries, because you can't have Baltimore and Pittsburgh play every year. They're going to play every other. And I think that hurts the rivalry. You can't have LA and San Francisco. You can't have Miami and the Jets. So I think you can't. It's too late to do it now without potentially hurting rivalries that you have built up over the last couple of years. So I don't do it.
Justin, your thoughts?
I don't care, guys. I'm not even it just don't excite it. I'm not really excited for it. But if you would have said should the NBA do it, I think so.
I think they will do it.
But
expansion hits.
But here for the NFL, I mean, yeah, it doesn't. It's all over the place.
But I think it matters. I think it matters when it comes to weather, especially late in the season. I think it matters when you got those cold teams or those teams like Miami.
It matters to Miami.
Oh, it matters to a lot of people. I mean, some teams are in a dome because they know they play in certain areas where it's going to be a cold at certain parts of the year, opposed to others. Other teams make sure they play outside because they know you got to come outside in that time of year when it gets cold. Or vice versa. It's going to be a lot of rain in certain places, so that's an advantage for them. So I just think if you geologically place people according to where they are on the map, it just makes more sense, and it takes away a disadvantage that is inherently there just because you decided to put people in a certain place off a region. That makes no sense. So that's all I'm saying. Like, if it's an advantage for some and a disadvantage for some, why wouldn't you make a Midwest?
Miami, in your opinion, but I don't see. I mean, I don't know how you. I mean, there's no difference in being in the AFC versus the NFC for football. So that's one thing. I don't know how you do this, and you can't keep your rivalries. So you have to establish new rivalries. Now you'll play different teams more often, things like that. That's possible. But the only other thing that I think it hurts is because during the preseason you really play the same team. So do you really want to be in a division with like DC and Philadelphia, and you play them in the preseason as well? So that's something else to account for. I just think it's built in too much. You've established too much. You've put in too much into these rivalries that you have in the last game of the season to potentially change it now. Going to 18 game season, can you have one game that's always a rivalry game? Yes. Does it take away some of the luster if it's not a home and home? That's another question.
I just think it makes no sense. I get the rivalry part, but what in the world does the Dallas Cowboys
in the
NFC East? It makes no sense. Like, it just makes no sense. Put their ass in the NFC South with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Go ahead.
If you do it by location, I think that actually increases the rivalries.
Exactly.
Imagine us going. I say us because I live in Baltimore, but I'm just like the hype and everything like that. Like going against PG County and DC. If Washington was there. You know, like seeing the Washington. Imagine if Baltimore played Washington 2 times out of the year.
But I think Dallas and Philly and Dallas and Washington are a bigger rival than Baltimore and Washington, because I don't think we can.
Only because we haven't seen it yet.
I agree.
If you want to say that, let's say Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, they'll probably be fighting each other in all these. Like that's some real stuff.
I understand the rivalry part of it, and I think that you can still make your schedule in a way where you take rivalry into consideration. You don't have to do this first team play the first team, or if you finish in first place, all those teams play each other next year. That was a decision made by the league. You can still keep your rivalries alive every season and just play it one time. I think it's more special sometimes to have it just as one big rivalry week. You know what I mean? That can be even marketed around the league. Around Thanksgiving,
I do think it's. I like the fact that first place teams play other first place teams. I think that is a part of winning and part of being good the previous year. I don't think that's something that should go by the wayside because I think that's a benefit. I don't want to see that as a benefit. Like you win your division this year, the response is next year you play a last place team.
No, I'm not saying
in division. So
no, what I'm saying is if you're saying that if you could lose some of the rivalries, say that the restructuring takes the Cowboys out of the NFC East and puts them in the NFC South. And that means they won't play Washington. They won't play the Giants. They won't play Philly anymore. You can still build into your schedule where those teams don't play each other twice a year, but maybe they play once that year. And again, certain rivalries, the big rivalry, maybe you create like college does, a rivalry week where it's all the biggest rivalries that particular Sunday or weekend of football is rivalries. Ravens Steelers is on that week. Cowboys and Philly. That could be like your biggest. Like you can market it however you want to market it, but I just think some of these things were done because people moved to different cities. Teams moved around, and then they originally were in one location. What the Cowboys was in different places. You know what I mean? Why were they playing in the East? You know what I mean? Like again, I think some of the stuff, if you're going to keep changing the schedule, increasing how many games it is, you're going to even have more games next year, so you can fit in your rivalries and your division games and this other playing first place teams or whatever, how you finish. Anyway, just a thought, maybe for the future. Let's get into playoffs now because we've gone through every division and how we've seen it, our opinion of how it's going to go out. But Calvin, you said that you had how many teams coming out of the NFC East? If we go back, you had one team. So that your only team is the Dallas Cowboys. Give us your 7.
I said it was Philly.
Excuse me, Philly. Give us your 7 teams for the NFC.
So I got Philly as the number 1 seed in the NFC. I got San Francisco 2, Detroit 3, and I'll say Atlanta 4 as they will be the division winners. So those are my 4 division winners. Wild cards, I have the LA Rams, I have the Green Bay Packers, and I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So those are my 7 NFC teams.
Okay, so read that one more time all together.
Philadelphia, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Rams, San Francisco.
Justin, who you got?
I got Eagles, number 1 overall. 49ers, Rams, Bucks. 1, 2, 3. Who I'm missing? What division I'm missing? Washington.
North. Yeah, Washington making the playoffs?
Green Bay. And who else we got? Who in the North Division with Green Bay?
Detroit.
There we go.
All right, read them back one more time for the people of clarity.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Over the Bears? Do I have? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Eagles number 1, and then no particular order right now, but 49ers, Rams, Bucks, Green Bay, Lions. The 7th wild card will be between Washington and the Bears.
You got to give us an order. Who's winning the West?
Okay. Who's coming out the West per se?
Who's the division winner? Who's the wild card?
I said the Bears earlier. I'll stay with the Bears.
That's the North. All right.
Well, that'll be the 17th.
Okay. I got Philly overall number 1. I think that the number 2 team in the entire NFC will be the 49ers. The first wild card will be the Rams coming out of the West. I have to go with Atlanta number one in the South. I think that's the only teams that comes out of there. I'm going to stick with my guns and go with Chicago. And then I got Detroit. So those are my 7. Chicago,
Say that one more time.
I got the Rams in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I got Philly, Atlanta, Chicago, and Detroit. So those are my 7. I don't have the Cowboys making the playoffs. I had to settle on that because
wait. You said Chicago. You said Chicago, Detroit, and Green Bay.
No, I had Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Rams, 49ers, and the Eagles.
That's only 6.
That's 6.
Well, then my 7th got to be the Cowboys. Then there you go. The Cowboys are sneaking in. I don't believe in Detroit. I mean, Green Bay. I don't see it. So sorry, Tampa. You are never going into consideration. All right, let's go over to the AFC. Justin, kick us off.
All right. Number 1 overall, Miami. 2, Kansas City.
Miami
3,
number 1. I like that.
Not Buffalo. 3, Jets. Okay. No. 4, Browns. 5, Ravens, right behind them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's tough. Who I'm missing? I'm missing somebody.
You tell us. Run
Did
them back.
you say the West? Did you say Kansas City?
I got Kansas City.
Well, you need another wild card team then.
All right, I got 2 out of there, 2 out of there, 2 out of there. I'm missing a division. I would have wrote this down.
Let's let you think about it, Calvin. Who's your 7?
All right, so I got Houston winning the AFC. I got the Jets.
Hold up. You got Houston overall number 1 seed?
Houston overall number 1 seed in the AFC.
Okay.
I got Kansas City 2nd. The Jets 3rd. Baltimore 4th. So those are my division winners. The wild card, I have Miami. Did I have Cincinnati or Cleveland? Because now I'm second guessing myself. I have.
You don't know.
No, I had Cincinnati, but I'm thinking Cleveland now. I'm going to go Cleveland. I'm going to go Cleveland. And my last wild card is between Buffalo and Jacksonville. I'm gonna go Jacksonville.
Okay. I'm back. I'm back. All right. I see when he said Houston, that's what I forgot the AFC South. Miami number 1 overall, Kansas City, Browns, Houston, Jets, Ravens, Colts. Colts with the 7th overall seed.
Okay. All right. I'm going let's start from the number 1 overall seed. Look, the Miami Dolphins, they are the best team in the AFC, in my opinion. They will prove it record-wise this season. Number 2, it just is what it is with that division. I'm going with the Chiefs. Number 3, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. Number 4, I'm going with the Houston Texans. The first wild card will be the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, I have to go the Indianapolis Colts. And then I got Buffalo squeaking in at the very end for that last playoff spot at number 7. So those are my 7.
So the Jets don't make the playoffs?
No, I told you that earlier. I said, if there's a second team from the East, I'm going with Buffalo.
Going with Buffalo. All right.
I'm sticking with it. So we all have something different. That's cool. I like that. So who's your Super Bowl? I mean, who's your AFC Championship game? The final two teams in the AFC. I'll kick it off. I'm just going to be honest.
You got Miami.
I got the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens
Wow.
in the AFC Championship game.
You talked all that stuff. Didn't have winning division.
I think we'll have some growing pains during the season. I mean, look, I just tell you, when I had my explanation, I said some teams play better from underneath. The Ravens are not a team that plays well from the top with the expectations, home field advantage. They choke at home. If you gotta go on the road, go prove something. Road Warriors, I think that will be their path to greatness.
So you say you have Miami and Baltimore. Is that what you said?
Miami and Baltimore in the AFC Championship.
So
game.
Who beats Kansas City?
I think this is the years that the Ravens exercise their demons. I think they
go into Kansas City and beat them.
I think they have to go into Kansas City and get that win. I think that's why I did that. That's why I lined up the Ravens finishing where they are, because I think they will for the Ravens to have the success.
So the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
I didn't say that yet.
I have the Ravens versus the Miami Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. We'll get to the rest later. Justin, who do you have in your AFC Championship game?
AFC Championship game. I got Miami and the Jets.
Okay. Who's hosting? Okay. Oh, you had Miami number 1 overall. Gotcha. All right. Calvin, who you got?
Just to answer that, because the KC question is a question mark. Everyone should be answering if this not Kansas City. Yeah. Kansas City goes into Miami, and then Miami exercises those demons.
Because they're in Miami.
Because they're in Miami.
I like that. Calvin.
So according to how I have it, because I have the Jets winning division, I have Miami as the first wild card. So based off my playoffs, I have Miami, Baltimore first round. Or wild card weekend, the first round playoffs, whatever you can call it.
Oh, okay.
So I have a rematch. I got Kansas City, Baltimore again.
In Kansas City or in Baltimore?
It would be in Kansas City because I have Baltimore as the worst division winner, so I got them as 4, and I got Kansas City is 2.
Is Ravens going in? Oh, we'll talk about it in a second. Well, let's get to it now. Or do the Ravens go into Kansas City and get the win?
I think this is the year.
Okay.
I think this is the year.
I hope you're right, Justin.
I think this is the year. Look, I better not hear Tampa Bay making the damn Super Bowl.
We talking about AFC.
I know. I'm seeing him shake his head like you a homer.
Hey, yo, come on, yo, what we doing here?
Tampa Bay making the
Super Bowl.
Who you got from? I think you have Miami and
Miami and the Jets.
The Jets. Wow, the Jets. Wow.
Who you got? It's in Miami. Never mind.
Who you got?
Jets going to Miami. Aaron Rodgers proved that he still got it. Aaron Rodgers representing the AFC in the championship game. In the Super Bowl.
That is a leap, man.
We're in the Super Bowl next year. Super Bowl's in Vegas.
It's in New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay.
That's a leap, man. That is a leap. But hey, do your thing, pal. Do your thing, okay? I have. It's tough, man, because I love me some Miami. I love Tua, but I'm a Ravens fan, and I think that they've proven that they can beat this
team. You already are being a homer by saying that you're a Ravens.
No. I'm just saying
it's
a combination of things. I think for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, they have to go through the best teams. I think that in the course of that run, they will have been in wild card weekend. They will have beaten a very good team, probably maybe a Buffalo might have to take on a Josh Allen or something of that nature. Maybe they beat Houston again. I don't know. That's tough, but you got to go to Kansas City and win. You got to beat Patrick Mahomes to go win the Super Bowl. And if they beat Patrick Mahomes, I think they can beat Miami. But for now, I'll just go. My brain is keep telling me I'll go with the Dolphins. I'll go with the Dolphins representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. I'll go with that. I'm gonna just be real. Let's go to the NFC. Who do you got in the NFC Championship matchup? Justin, tell me why the Bucks make it there.
You said the NFC Championship, right?
Yeah, who's the two teams?
I wouldn't say Tampa Bay. I'm not. I don't believe in Baker that much. I believe Philly has the easiest route to go. I think everything goes through Philadelphia. I think they represent themselves in the NFC Championship game. I think also Detroit is going to perform very well, very, very well this year. Only to lose to Tampa Bay because we need to exercise that we lost last year. And I believe that we are young enough. I think we are prime. I think we have the right mix of young and veteran leadership in order to make a play straight for the NFC Championship game. We were one game from being one game away. And
one game away.
I believe we can exercise those demons. And I think the only person that's going to be in our way is Detroit, and I think we can get rid of them this year. With that being said, so Philly takes out the 49ers. I think somehow, some way they match up with them, and Philly takes them out. And Philly takes us out. I got Philadelphia going to the championship. I don't like that. This is on paper. This is on wax. I got a lot of people that like Philadelphia, and I talk crap about them every time I see them in the shop. But I just think that they have, especially with everybody being healthy, they just have the right formula. They just have the right mixture. They're a tough team, man.
Tough out. Calvin, what you got?
I thought we had the same championship game for a second. That's why I was pissed. I got Philly and Detroit. In Philadelphia. So that's who I have. So when you said that initially, I thought we had the same championship game, but I had Philly and Detroit.
Well, I don't. I hate to say I'm going chalk, but I'm going chalk. I'm going Philly and San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. I think these are the NFC is weak.
And so who has home field?
Philly. Philly has home field.
So we all got Philly number one.
Yeah. I think we established that. I think the NFC is weak. I don't see the only monkey wrench could be the San Francisco. I mean the Los Angeles Rams. I like what they represent. That could be the only monkey wrench in this whole thing. But for now, I'm going chalk. I'm going Philly and San Francisco. And if I had to pick a representative in the Super Bowl matchup, would be the Miami Dolphins taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I can't go away from it, man. They got to get over the hump at some point, man. They got to. And my Super Bowl winner, I'm going with the 49ers, man. I think it's their year. I think they've been knocking on that door. And if Patrick Mahomes isn't on the other side of that field, I think they have a chance. I'm going with the 49ers for the Super Bowl this year. Justin?
I hear what you're saying, but clearly I got Philadelphia in the Jets and representing the championship game, the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year. And for some reason, when certain players reach certain plateaus in their life, when they reach, just the biggest obstacles, they get you can find yourself scrambling when they say that you can't scramble no more, and then you dive and do a 360 sideways in the air. This makes no sense. It makes no sense. Reminiscence of John Elway.
You don't think Aaron Rodgers is going out on top?
And just like John Elway went out on top, I think Aaron Rodgers does similar, led by the league leading rusher,
Breece Hall.
So it's going to be Breece Hall's team, a la Terrell Davis.
This nigga,
or Terrell Davis, I can say his name. But it will be Aaron Rodgers.
You're a New Yorker underneath.
I am not a New Yorker.
I was going to say Knicks. I was going to say undercover Knicks fan, but
but yes, I believe the Jets win it all, just like I said.
You must listen to a lot of New York sports talk radio and get brainwashed up there. Go ahead, Calvin.
I got Baltimore, Philly. I think what we should have saw, or we've had the possibility of seeing a couple of years ago. I got Baltimore, Philly.
Oh man, we all three got 3 different matchups. That's crazy.
Interestingly enough, I do have. If Baltimore doesn't make it, I have a rematch of Super Bowl, whatever it was 2 years ago in Kansas City, Philly. In both instances, I got Philly winning. I think they're loaded. I think they on offense, they're just loaded. I don't, and with the division they're playing, keep in mind, like I said, they're playing second. They came in second in the division. They have that type of schedule, so they're not playing every top team in the division. No, I'm sorry, top team winner of the division, NFC. I just think Philly's loaded, and I think last year was an anomaly. Something happened internally that caused them to just spiral late. I don't think that happens 2 years in a row. They got better. Like when you add Saquon, I don't need Saquon to be great. I just need him to do enough to take pressure off Jalen Hurts, to take pressure off those receivers as well. So I think Philly's tough. And in the weak NFC, I think they can get better week by week, and they could kind of peak in the playoffs. So I got Philly.
Look,
regardless of the matchup, I got Philly.
It's definitely nothing to sneeze about, the talk about with the Philadelphia. Like we talked about, best GM in all of sports, in my opinion. So anybody taking the Eagles is definitely warranted. But I just think the 49ers have just been knocking on that door, man. And if they get an opportunity to play anybody but Patrick Mahomes, I think they're going to win. I just think it's time. I can't go with my heart. I would love to pick the Ravens. I would love to, but I just don't see it right now. As the season progresses, I have every right in the world to go back and say, yeah. We do this again at midseason. This is fluid.
It's fluid.
Yeah, and we do our midseason check-in, and we see how we looking now. How do we feel now? Things change, injuries happen. So this is just how our preseason check-in to see this is how we see things right now. But remember, they ain't played a game yet. You know what I mean? It's always some players that emerge as the season go on. So there will be teams that come out of nowhere, rookies that come out of nowhere and make a huge impact that we don't forecast. So we've gone pretty long tonight, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. Football.
So hold on, before we wrap it up, just one more. Who you got MVP? It ain't got to be elaborate. Just MVP. I can go first. Y'all want to think about
Tyreek.
Okay.
Who you got?
I don't think receiver. If he didn't get it last year, I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he can.
He got hurt down the stretch, which hurts.
But I don't think he can exceed. He can't exceed those numbers, in my opinion.
He didn't get 2,000. If he wouldn't have got hurt, he could have got it.
Okay.
Who you got?
I got Jordan Love.
Oh,
I got Jordan Love.
Who you got, Justin?
If Philly is this good, Jalen Hurts will be the catalyst to everything, right? We all said Philly was at least the NFC Championship representative with a loaded team. Usually, if you lead the team well with stats and everything like that, and he'll have rushing and passing stats, it'll be Jalen. Breece Hall, asterisk 2,000 yards.
Here we go.
I think Saquon takes away from some of his numbers. I think I would say CJ, but second year is asking a lot. But I think like Jordan Love.
You got him as the number 1 seed in AFC second year.
Correct. But I don't know if
win it.
I don't know if it's going to be looked at like Stephon Diggs added to his season, like because he added him and took away something. Like I don't know if it's going to play like that. I just think
because he was already great. He was already great before Stephon came.
That's fair. That's fair.
Number 1 overall.
That's fair.
It'll be CJ.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, especially in the AFC, I think like the AFC winner,
it's tougher,
is going to have a claim to it. I just think Jordan Love's going to put up some great stats.
I don't know
if they can win a division. I think if they can win a division and contend for that 1-2 seed, then
I think that's a huge leap.
I think it's a huge leap for CJ, though. I think it's a huge leap for CJ.
You got him as a number 1 overall seed.
You're right, but I'm saying I think he's not the most talented quarterback. So if you say he's number one seed because he outplayed everyone, then yes. But if you say that the competition was right there neck and neck with him, and it was battling back and forth between him and Pat Mahomes, between him and Lamar, things like that, then
out of all those things, Jordan,
he's not MVP.
I think Jordan Love can put up the best. I think Jordan. So I put it like this: I have Jordan Love throwing for the most yards this year. Whether or not that's because they're down or what, I have that. So if they can sneak in and win the division, I think that helps. That helps his case. That's all I'm saying.
Let me ask you a question. Where is this Jordan Love coming from? Like, what did he throw for last year? Like 3,500, 4,000?
He threw for 41, I believe.
Okay.
He threw for 41, but I think he threw for like 27 the last 8 games.
I guarantee you, he ain't throwing for more yards than Tua Tagovailoa. I tell you that right now, and I ain't got to think about it. Huh? How much you want to bet? Put 100 on it right now.
I'll take that bet.
Put your hand out.
I'll take that.
Put your hand out.
I ain't put my hand out. He got Tyreek. I ain't putting my hand out.
Exactly.
Tyreek gonna get him some yak. That's the only thing that's gonna help him out.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
All right, I just wanted y'all thoughts on that.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about week 1 next week, and we'll talk some more football. But we just went 2.5 hours, dog. Great show, a lot of stuff. Justin, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, on a somber note, I read a report that there was a passing amongst one of the I think he was a high school or middle school student. Defensive tackle got hit the wrong way, and had issues, in his brain activity or whatever the case may be. My hearts go out to that family. I don't know the gentleman's name. I didn't have a chance to write it down, but the father is protesting heavy for. Have y'all seen the players with the gel caps on top of the helmets and things like that? Certainly some that might need to be trickled down at least until the growing stages. If the NFL players are kind of teetering with it, then maybe everyone else should probably try to do it too. Well, they'll probably raise the price of everything, and it's already high. Yes, I get all those things, but you know what I'm saying? When you're still in a development stage of your body, you want to take any precautions that's allowed it through technology to assist in that, because football is a tough game, and we tend to forget that at times. So definitely should look out and look into that a little bit.
I did not see that specifically. I did see the other young man that passed from heat stroke. I guess that was maybe like week before last, a couple weeks ago. I didn't see the incident she was talking about. Just speaking in regards to the helmet caps, whatever they're called, I thought they were allowing them when they had an option to wear them in games, because I know Jonathan Taylor wore his in a preseason game. I want to say it was week 2. So I don't know if that's going to be the same for the regular season as well, but he did wear his in the preseason. So I don't know if it's going to carry over to the regular season or what. But it was crazy, because I was talking to Dre about like Kobe playing football, and especially at that age, like
it's better footwork and skill sets than the tackling part.
Yeah, but even like we was thinking, even flag was an option.
Flag.
But just like regular football, it's like you don't know everything at that young age. In regards to you just know what you see on TV, or know what someone tells you. You really don't know the fundamentals, and that can be detrimental later in life.
Culture matters, man. I always say that, especially when for youngsters, don't put your kid in no program that doesn't have a good coaching staff, a good training regiment. It's a lot of programs out here. I shout out to Northwood football. If you really want some good tutelage and good upbringing, send them somewhere where people know what they're doing. But again, those helmets you were talking about, it's gonna come at a cost. You know what I mean? That's at the highest level. So for that to trickle down to the age group that we're talking about, it's going to be difficult. But I think it needs to be a concerted effort, even by the major companies in these cities that have the youth programs. They will have to make some major investments to help fund these things. Maybe some sports teams can help donate some of these helmets. I don't know. It's going to be not something that you can snap your finger and every team in the city, every player is going to have one. So it's a logistic thing, but I like the idea behind it, but we'll see how that goes. And as technology advances, things become more affordable because we always say, I saw a meme the other day. It had a picture of all these different things. It had like a record player, a VHS machine, all these things. And it made about 15 or 20 different things. And it said, now all of those things in this picture, you can now do this one device. Mm-hmm. And that's how technology has done to a lot of things. A lot of things have become advanced and affordable to the regular person. Everybody has a smartphone now. You know what I mean? So it can be done and made affordable for the common man if that's something that these companies decide to do. So great point by you. Let's wrap it up. Anything else, Calvin? I know we didn't get to everything you had on your list.
No, the draft week. Yep. I mean, I finished draft this week. That's all I got. I mean, next week's the start of the season, so I think I got 4 drafts in the course of next week. But that was last season.
No. When you win a championship, this is the time. I didn't get to brag. I haven't seen you all. Don't worry. On Sunday, this belt will be with me for the draft.
Saturday.
Huh? This is a full year. The draft is this Sunday. So y'all make sure y'all there. I will be defending my crown all season, and hopefully it comes back with me again. If not, it was a great year, baby.
Make sure I get my Clorox ready.
All right. For Justin, Calvin, I'm Larry. Thanks for tuning in tonight to Get Off the Damn Fence. We'll be back next week. We're going to be previewing week 1 of the NFL season, which starts next Thursday night. I'm excited. We're going to go through all the games that excite us, and we're going to be picking head-to-head with the locks as well. Locks are coming back. So that's always a fun part of the season for us. So also, check out my website, cautioncreations.com. Been doing some coverage. We back in the swing of things. I'm doing my own individual football season coverage there as well. In addition, we recapping season 40 of MTV's The Challenge. If you're an MTV Challenge fan, me and Kevin DeShield's been talking about that. Also, we previewed AEW All In. We're going to do a review. Look out for that on Thursday. It was a great show. Hopefully you checked it out. And talking about a lot of things coming up. So a lot of coverage coming back to cautioncreation.com. In addition to some other shows, these gentlemen are going to be joining me on as well. But this is Get Off the Damn Fence, exclusively live on our YouTube page and our Facebook. If you are, subscribed, please share the live, share the page on YouTube. We're trying to get out there, get some greater reach. We love the people who tune in on Tuesday nights, but we see so many people checking us out on Wednesday or throughout the rest of the week. So those views continue to go up. So we appreciate you for sharing it. Appreciate you for liking and letting everybody know, even if you can't tune in live on Tuesday nights, just keep checking us out throughout the week, and we'll make sure we give you all the predictions to set you up for your bets for the upcoming football season. Typically, Calvin's wrong, I'm right, so we try to stick with that rotation. But we adding Justin to the mix. So, Justin, we need to see how his temperature is on his pick. So I don't want you to go out there betting no money off of what he says yet, because we need to figure that out. But if you want to win some money, you follow me. I'll take you to the promised land. Always Calvin's wrong. So we'll be back next week picking all the games for week 1, and we'll see you next week for Get Off the Damn Fence. Have a good night.